What do you mean? Promoted to coach? The mean? Oh, you're not good enough to play, bro. So I guess you can kind of lead.
That implies that you respect someone. There's nothing
I respect you for putting everyone at
okay, maybe wrong choice of word.
On my way to the main event without having to play any games while everyone else is battling it out in open qualifiers. Sheesh.
Oh my god. He made a mistake.
Listen,
and, like,
140 characters. I can get my point out, you know?
Bro, it takes like 20 characters to go, don't send death threats. You're up.
And welcome back, everybody, to Valoranting for your week of the 16th of January. I'm Leslie here, joined by Vansilli, and most importantly, for the first time, it's going to be the one, the only Jess Goat. Thanks so much for coming on the show, mate. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's good to have two Aussies on the show. I think that's going to, Aussie-fy everything up. That's what we want.
Yeah, you're fucked, Vans. That's all I can say for you, mate.
Oh, mate. Hey, mate. Thanks, mate. What's up, mate?
Christ.
This is Luna here today.
Oh, wait, which accent? Are you, wait, that accent, is that South African, Vans?
Yeah,
was that what you're throwing?
Was that close? Was that close?
No,
Listen,
mate.
I'm like Southeast Asia. Vietnam's still kind of close. There's a lot of Vietnamese students that goes to Australia to study abroad, right? So I guess I'm like part of the crew. I'm part of the crew.
That's true, actually. Yeah, especially in Adelaide, to be fair. Now, Jess, are you from Victoria?
Yeah, technically. I say I'm from Victoria, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Accents all there. So we do actually have slightly different accents if you care to listen, Vans, but you don't give a fuck because you all think that Australia's a simulation, so that's fine. Hey, obviously great to have you here, Jess, because obviously there's a ton of talk about happening in Europe this week, but let's go over the whole show because we're already into our second open qualifier for VCT, but we're going to talk about Challengers 1 in VCT Europe because there's a bunch of interesting stories, especially the one surrounding G2. Quite a lot of changes, a lot of banter, especially if you're a Navova fan. Again, a lot of speculation around the future of that G2 roster. We want to talk about a couple other teams that made it and some notable exclusions from the top teams in VCT EU Challenge 1. Then, of course, we'll talk about an interesting story coming out of the... it's got to be America, doesn't it? Couldn't fucking be anywhere else. A bit of a... Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's here in the thing. You lied about a COVID test. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail. And, if you were at Philly, though, at the at the fucking Nerd Street LAN, get a COVID test. I also talk about the Aries because it's a controversial decision. By that, I mean, there are actually some people who think it's good. The changes made to that weapon have definitely caused a bit of a stir, and there are many opinions being shared about that. But let's start off with VCT EU Challengers 1. Challengers 2 is underway right now, so a lot of you are probably following along with the score lines there. But let's start right at the beginning. Europe has an open qualifier into a closed qualifier. They actually have multiple of those, so get fucked, NA. There are a few promising projects, right, Jess, coming into sort of Challengers 1 here. Right? We saw the changes Excel made. Yep. OG trying another fucking project. Obviously, this Heretics is a new look roster as well. But let's start by talking about Excel. Koi, I think... This is a recent project, this Koi team, right? It was announced.
Isn't it like one of the most like diverse teams that have been thrown together outside of like the coaching stuff, like just players alone or something like that? I don't know. I think maybe Shrewer and stuff is like maybe they come from the same country, but it's like it was wild.
No, you're right.
Was this Gall's project or one of these individuals from was that Latin America that actually founded the team? I try to remember now, but it's one of the fastest growing brands, I guess you could say. Ironically, they go up against XL, who seem more interested in building a brand than actually a sort of Valorant dynasty. I don't know much about this Koi team. Like, I know Stark from Portugal. He's like one of the only players I'm really familiar with. But this XL team, right? They've got Chihuahua and Patatech on it. Obviously, we know Mo40. Aussie, who stepped in for G2 for a time and looked really promising. And Element was one of the players from that initial Entropic team, right? The Reina one trick that was just terrorizing people on Icebox. So we're in the midst of two of these rather new, rather ambitious projects here. And a decent series between them. But Excel won't advance any further in open qualifier number 1. Not a great sign considering they must have made a bit of a splash to put this roster together.
They both won't. They both won't, right? Because at that point too, Koi also lost to Vitality, who also made it to the closed qualifier, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, there's been a lot of, I think it's been the conversation overall around the world that there's been so many roster shakeups getting ready for the VCT qualifiers. You're trying to find like the right firepower, the right pieces so that the chemistry gels in so that you can actually make it into the upcoming run for Masters 1. So naturally, you'll see like some of these recipes that are trying to work that doesn't work out, and some of them will actually work out, such as Guild, for example, right? So it's normal that we're going to see this happen throughout these open qualifiers. So it kind of sucks that it's on big brands, but yeah, it's normal.
What I don't get either, and maybe this is just because Valorant is like quote unquote so new, but I don't understand the concept of teams being put together right at the precipice of when they should be ending their preparation for a qualifier. Like, why are we having teams like either 3/4 of the way through a preparation period? And maybe this is my coach brain going like, overdrive, but I would never be putting a team together like last minute like this and expecting anything out of them. Bro, I should be expecting shit 6 months down the line at the earliest, let alone just fucking like 1 month later. Like, what is that? That to me was the most stupid thing coming out of it, is that there were any expectations for these kind of teams like last minute, especially Excel.
Yeah, I think the tough part too is just looking at, for example, if you're looking at a franchise model such as Overwatch League or CDL, when you have matches week per week per week, so you have time to prepare, you have time to evolve that strat, because you're like kind of stuck with that roster for, let's say, X amount of weeks, right? And then there'll be some changes here and there before trade deadlines or so. But if you're looking at the circuit that we currently have, I think for like Siege or for Valorant, especially for Valorant, you have a lot of these circuits or the matches back in 2021 where you finish a qualifier, you finish a tournament, and then 2 weeks later it's the next event. So you don't really have that much of a chance to do these changes, and you have a lot of these players that are continuously in like these contract jails and whatnot, and that organizations are hoping for a buyout. You don't get a buyout, so very last minute you have like these free agent that are unrestricted that could get picked up, but the ones that you actually want get bought out and stuff like that too. So it becomes like a huge scramble in the end, and you're just trying to gather everything last minute, which is why like we'll question it later on once we get to that point. Like, for example, 100 Thieves might have been one of those teams that got maybe the short end of who was available and who they wanted to buy, right? So
Mate, I mean, they took Eccles from no poaching. I mean, a bunch of those players are on this fucking Excel roster. You know what I mean? Like, could I mean, you got Mo 40 elements on there, and Aussie all half from that team. I do think though, despite the fact that fucking hell, you use the most amount of words possible to describe some of the simplest concepts. I do like that you mentioned contract jail, because that NIP roster, I would say that Panatech and Chihuahua probably only got released from their contracts when NIP decided to make the move for a Latin America roster. So, they were probably more later acquisitions. But
I like to try to give context, Uber. Fuck you.
Yeah. But just in the grand scheme of things, like, it's a bit of a shame that there isn't much of synchronization between like some of these contract periods and like the actual calendar year of play.
Exactly.
So that players have enough time to find rosters and actually get embedded into them adequately before, you have to start competing again. Because look, guys, in fairness, guys, there was a decent off season, so to speak, right? There was like at least 6 weeks or so where we were sat sort of twiddling our thumbs waiting for something to happen. These aren't the only teams that like had these issues, right? In fairness, Excel just knocked out Heretics, I think in Challengers 2. So there you go. At least they're finding some results. What do you reckon? I say this was funny. OG obviously announced another ambitious project. Unsurprisingly, French guys want to play with French guys. Not a shock to me.
Wow, shocking.
Yeah, absolutely mind blowing. So we've got Unco, obviously previously of the Overwatch League, and Onib, who's Soon's brother, which is another sort of star player from the world of Overwatch. They come together with Evexio, Law, and a guy called Metellian to form this OG roster under, of course, the tutelage of Damon. And they get fucked on by Team Keizo, featuring your boy Foxy. Also, Chax on this team as well. By the way, not close. I mean, here's another example, guys, of a team with limited runway, limited run up to their matches, getting slapped by this sort of mixed roster here, with Foxy leading the way.
We wanted to see that. We wanted to see some string games of Team Queso because people wanted to follow with Foxy overall, but it didn't happen. At least we got the results. I think OG losing to Queso is not a bad thing, though, because I think people did give a lot of props and a lot of expectations for Queso to actually go pretty far. So I think this is maybe normal.
And they did
I wish we had some VODs.
Did they make close qualifier in the end, this team?
No. They were like one game away, I think, of making it into...
They lost to Rebels Gaming.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which they had a far run too, and unfamiliar team for me as well, right?
This is a full Polish. No, wait, no, sorry, that's not Rebels. Oh, I got Musashi and Gatch on this team. Okay, so
Yeah, speaking of
These were
diversity.
These guys what played on like was he on Alliance?
Isn't Papa Smurf New Zealander as well? Isn't he the New Zealander that jumps around like a trillion teams? I'm pretty sure the coach is like the New Zealander that like jumps around like a ton of teams and stuff like that. And I have
He's got to
pride
get a
in the
visa
Rebels.
somehow, Jess. I mean, you know, it
Mate.
ain't fucking easy. Is it?
Mate, I have a sneaky fucking suspicion he doesn't even live there. And by there, I don't even know where the fuck there is because they got a Russian,
hold on.
German,
If you're not living in New Zealand, what
Portuguese.
do you have to gain from claiming Kiwi heritage anyway? I mean, fucking hell, it seems like a lose-lose to me.
I mean, look, Papa Smurf, he's all over it, mate. He's everywhere. He's all over the world. He's Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, he obviously there's a few. I mean, if you're interested in Papa Smurf's coaching history, we have Pierce Esports, Rejects, Tuwake Esports Club, Nebula, and Tubeple Gaming. All right, I don't know what the fuck. Okay, so some of these. Okay, he was coaching a Saudi Arabian team. Okay,
You see what I mean?
I've
Like,
seen
this
everything.
is Mr. Worldwide. This motherfucker
shit.
down in the bottom of the world, and he's like, you know what? Mr. Worldwide now.
And Rebels Gaming have been the chariot that is taken him to glory. All right, good on you, mate. Also, this Heretics roster, right? We discussed this a little bit because obviously last week we mentioned the changes because Foxy, gracefully outgoing from this roster, kind of leaks the entirety of the team, which is Bromas, Tensky, Lowell, Mertz, and Valorante. This team goes up against a team by the name of Valar Morgulis. And they lose in 3. Again, I think it was a decent series, all things considered, but yeah, not the most auspicious beginning for Heretics, who now, as we know, have been eliminated from the second open qualifier. So they're not going to be in Challengers here for stage 1.
What do you say? What do you say about it? Because I feel like every time we spoke about Team Heretics, even like in previous iterations, you just weren't sure. You weren't sure when they were going to knock themselves out. Like it was never team versus Team Heretics. It was Team Heretics versus themselves. And I was always like, oh, well, which way is this match going to go? Is this going to go this way? And even when I first joined Valorant, I was given a warning about Team Heretics. So
yeah, not to pin your hopes too closely on that team.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
not to look at the stats and
here.
assume you know what's going on.
Oh God, this is more recently. XL were the one that knocked him out. Is that a young Ocelot there?
Yeah,
a young Carlos Rodriguez.
That's the meme.
Jesus. Yeah, well, here's what they do. This team is just going to fucking cry about having all their good players stolen by Carlos again.
That's true.
That's all they really fucking have to do.
But that's the thing too, right? Because for Heretics, they got the bag from G2 with the two players that G2 poached. But like with the money that they got, the roster is like I said, on paper it looks okay because he has some players that have like old Counter-Strike experiences from like old heroics like Mertz and Tensky and whatnot. But we talked about it last week when we had a chance to watch Heretics play. It was like, it seems like they're still trying to figure out like the timings and how to really work out the abilities together to move forward, right? And when you're trying to build around Lowell, and he's not playing that battle stage anymore, you're just trying to figure out what's happening with Heretics at this point and what they're doing with their money. Because we talked about how their video introducing Team Heretics was actually quite good. So hopefully all the budget didn't go into that, and then we could get a little bit more coaching assistance so that we could see a little bit more development out of this team. But give it some time.
So much of this team, for me, rides on what Lowell and Tensky can really do. Ramas is a big question mark for me because I don't know if he's ever really, reached the highest of heights in Valorant. Well, he's obviously not done that, but I always kind of wondered as he's a bit of an older bloke, and even in Overwatch, he didn't really click. He didn't really find his footing as like what I would say is like a pro player. So it's a big question mark. It's a huge opportunity for him, but it's questionable. I think whether he'll really be able to rise to the occasion. Regardless, I mean, they didn't. Spoilers, they fucking didn't. So I guess they got some time, and there's a good chance they make changes as a result.
There's nothing better as well than saying Noel is promoted to coach. Now, when I see the word promoted next to the word coach, I instantly die inside because I think to myself, what do you mean? What do you mean? He just suddenly developed leadership skills? He suddenly understands the mentality of 5 young men, or presumably men, on a squad all of a sudden? Like, you mean an analyst? You mean a strategic coach? What do you fucking mean? Promoted to coach? The fuck you mean? Oh, you're not good enough to play, bro, so I guess you can kind of lead. The fuck does that mean?
Who is this guy? Who is Noel anyway? What do we know about?
He was a player.
Okay. because I have no playing history for him on doing my
This is
scoreboard
why
Steven
teams don't
stuff.
do well, especially in the early, because there's always someone on the team like that will butt heads with someone else, right? In a leadership. And your coach is there to be that third party that says, well, actually, this is what I'm seeing from the outside. This is probably what needs to go on. Let's give this a go. Trial and error, etc., etc. That's what the coach is there to be, the leader for the team that everyone can look towards. And that way there's no butting heads between the team. If there's no old guy's like, well, I've been a fucking player before, so like I guess I know what's going on. What the fuck?
I don't know anything of I can't find anything really about the guy. But I think this probably isn't just Heretics' issue though. I think there are a ton of Valorant teams that have people in coaching roles that maybe don't have the skill set to actually fulfill that, or maybe a lack of understanding about what leadership actually requires. When I was young, I thought leadership was just about telling people what to do, as well. I didn't fucking know what it actually required. And I think like a lot of people maybe like the title here, but they probably act more as analysts, and there's not a lot of accountability taken for what goes on in their roster. There's speculation, by the way, but this team obviously, is going to have to find a way to create some stability.
According to Tanny, he sits in a call with Lowell and speaks Spanish whilst the rest of the team's in the call.
Is this the fucking... Wait a minute. Is this the reason... Oh, yeah. Is this the same guy? This Noel guy? I thought he was their mental coach.
Wait, what? So he's got mental coaching?
No. We talked about this, right?
We talked about this with Tanny when he came on. Yeah.
This Noel guy was, I think, their performance coach, right?
Okay.
And apparently there was a rift in this team, because it would be this Noel guy and Lol, and he would just baby the shit out of Lol, and the rest of the team definitely felt like there was a huge divide between like the Spaniards on that roster and the rest of them. They wouldn't even bother speaking in fucking English around them.
There you go. There you go. Oh, I'm sure this coach is doing fucking worlds of wonders on this team. As you can see, it's already going well.
I mean, that's just it's not good rumors to hear anyway. And we heard that from fucking Tanny, who was working with this team. So sorry, like, it's a little bit hard to dodge that one. Let's try and move on to the less incompetent teams who made it into the to the closed qualifier, obviously, for Challengers 1. Now, this was a double elimination bracket. As you can sort of see here, and obviously some fairly well-known names, like even guys like Anonimo, we've heard them around. BDS is in there, 10-star. This is a representation, a little bit obscure, classic in the classic VCT style, of course, of how our upper and lower brackets went. So let's talk about a couple of the bigger results here. First of all, Team Vitality take down G2 in the upper quarterfinal. Now, this is a team that I remember they've been really quiet. I mean, I remember when they were announced, they were building the team around Brams, right? Vac and Sender had been on the roster. They added Cadaver from Alliance and Shadow come onto this team. But these guys hadn't really done anything since like August of last year in terms of those big tournaments. And theoretically, they'd just been grinding away, just plugging away. And they come out here with a really strong performance against a G2 who was, characteristically questionable, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I think that's what I want to talk about more than Vitality for now. Is just G2. It was their debut with this new roster with the two players that they recently picked up, and wanted to see how they were going to do. And we've seen some actually really nice plays. I think this was upper bracket between G2 and Vitality, where you saw like this beautiful 4v1 that Nuke kind of won against Vitality. But overall, G2 got knocked out, and that's the important message around here, is to like, okay, well, is this working out? Is this roster really the way to go? Or putting Mixwell back on the Jet, was that the solution? Because now that you have somebody coming in playing as a Cypher in Meadow, and you have Hoodie coming into the roster as the initiator, how is this going to look at? How is this going to look? How is this going to gel? And if I'm not mistaken, Mixwell was also IGLing for the team too, right? So for me personally, I think he was, because if you're looking at this whole roster, or it's Nuke or it's Mixwell, that was calling for a team, if I'm not mistaken. And when you're looking at this roster in the end, though, like, and I look at the performances of Mix IGLing. Well, that's the thing. So that is another thing into the rumor mill that we'll talk about in a bit. But overall, I don't think that Mixwell played the series badly. When you look at the G2 versus Vitality, or should I say the G2 versus Alliance in the lower brackets, when they had to replay on Fracture, I was actually paying close attention to Mixwell. He was mostly like on his own as a Jet. like trying to get an entry or something on Fracture and doing very similar things into the later maps against Alliance, and he didn't have that many opportunities of being set up, like for example by Initiator to try to get a pick. So if the rest of the teams is working behind, for example, Nuke to get entries and to scale up into the map, and they lose the fight, well, technically Mixwell is going to be on his own. And it didn't pay out. That type of strategy didn't pay out at all for G2 throughout this qualifier, which is why maybe you're trying to do the same type of strategy going into the second qualifier, but switching out Mixwell to Keloqz, because that's the least amount of switches in terms of your strats that you would need to do going into the open qualifier.
Can I ask you both why you think that Mixwell was moved off Jet to play Killjoy in the first place? Why did this happen?
I think that was Pipson. I think it was behind Pipson. Mixwell had an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and they were asking him, like, hey, how come you're playing Jet? How is this going on? He's like, yo, I do what I need to do. Like, all this stuff right now is being called by Pipson. It's his system. He sees how I could potentially play this. Sure, I'm going to try it. If I have to go play an Initiator, I'll do the same thing. So I think it's more around the direction of where the coach wanted to bring G2, and with the pieces that he has available for Pipson, with the players that he has available, he wants to try this. And it may seem to work that way.
No, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I want to know why he moved off Jet in the first place. Because obviously he's moving to Jet right now because Nokia and fucking Keloqz couldn't get along, and they got rid of one of those factors, right? That was what fucking wasn't Nokia saying like there was just someone he just didn't enjoy playing with in that clip, and then the fucking tweet longer. So why? Like, I want to talk because this might be emblematic of the problems G2 had recently. You know, with there's a reason they moved Mixwell off Jet. So why move Mixwell off Jet back in the first place and have him play Sentinels? Like, why did they do that? Going back a bit now.
Yeah, I think then it's for Keloqz to bring in Keloqz as a star fragger as a Jet to get some results. Because if you look at G2 in the Masters 3 run, where they beat Sentinels and whatnot and got out of groups, I know it was a shitty group that they had because it was only 3 teams, but they still did very good, right? They got 4th place, if I'm not mistaken, at Masters. They had, quote unquote, I would like to say it's an easier bracket, but it's not an easier bracket because they had to beat Crew, and we know how Crew did at Champions. So I think just Keloqz coming into the roster was great firepower that was a necessity for G2.
Let us not forget, like, from a very basic foundational level, like, we can pull this apart as much as we want, but let us not forget that almost every team in the world right now is jealous of the fact that there's like the top 5 teams with star Jet players. It's like we're talking about groups of Jets at Champions. We're talking about who's the best, Jet, who's the most accurate, who's this, blah, 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 who's the best with a fucking op. Like, that is in our mouths consistently. And so every team is like, well, I got FOMO on that shit. Like, I want a star Jet player. Like, I want a Jet player everyone's fucking scared to peek down long. You know what I mean? So I think there's that aspect of it for like every team right now, is that not only did the conversation the past month or 2 come about, especially around Champions, about needing to have a star Jet player, or not even a star Jet player, a very competent Jet player. And number 2, obviously we're going to sit here and turn around. Every team wants that. I mean, G2 out of all teams would absolutely fucking want that. I mean, it's great. It's great for their numbers. It's great for their team. So however they needed to get that, if Mixwell wasn't the recipe for that, well, of course they're going to change it.
So they go to the lower bracket and play this game against Alliance. Now, Alliance obviously having sort of retooled their roster to a degree as well, right? Like a Hyperfear still here, but Cider and Zik, I think, being added more recently. Again, I mean, G2 on Bind, we usually expect to be pretty good, right? I think that's never really a question, but it's the rest of the series, right? I mean, you mentioned the Fracture gameplay, Vansilli. And that Mixwell was trying to sort of create some opportunities there. Obviously, the Ascent map was a much closer one that Alliance managed to win out here. I really need to, like, what is the future of this roster? Especially now with obviously Keloqz is coming in here, but does this really seem like a long-term solution? What they're doing with Mixwell here, is this another example of like a Counter-Strike player transferring across and finding their expiration date in Valorant? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, I don't think that Mixwell's at an expiration date. If anything, like, if that ends his run in G2, I'm sure he'll find another team, or I'm sure he'll be able to find one in Counter-Strike because he's still very talented. I think overall it's just they're still trying to find an identity that's been going on since they were in their losing streak, and they lost Artis part of that process, right? With G2,
Truly devastating,
from like
for
a
sure.
long time ago until now, right? So it kind of sucks to see the progression of G2. Like they have a lot more limelight these days than, for example, trying to see an improvement in TSM in North America, because I think these two teams are very similar in that case, really trying to find their dominant stance from when Valorant first came out again. So with Keloqz coming in, the future of that for Mixwell, maybe it could be the end, because if you're looking at the results of G2, I haven't followed it today, but yesterday they were actually really, really good with who's at the helm at the top of the scoreboard, or who's actually fragging out. It was actually Keloqz. It was actually Nuki. So I think this pans out in terms of like this fragging ability, this fragging power that you have for G2, and this might be a step in the right direction for this team.
He did frag out. Like I was, as you were speaking there, because you love your monologues there, my friend. It gives me enough time to bring up his
That's
his
what I'm here for.
And they are fucking nice. Like his stats are fucking nice. Like that's without doubt. So to turn around, like G2 could turn around to anyone right now and just say, well, look at his fucking stats. We did the right thing. I mean, objectively, like we couldn't say anything about that. Like the last 3 games in the green there, those are the ones that you can look at to see what Keloqz has played. He's top fragged by far on like all of them. Bar like maybe one map of one of the series, I think. And so does he do the job? Yes. Do we need to move Mixwell out of the way for it? Unfortunately, like Van said before, it causes the least disruptions. And I remember being a coach one time having to make a really tough decision. I had 2 players going and another player. I didn't think that other player was that bad, but if you want to make the least disruption in your team, sometimes you got to make like a decision that maybe long term won't be the best, but for the short term, it's the least disruptive to get you through that season. So it's tough. But I mean, currently he's listed as like inactive bench. That's where he's currently listed as for Mixwell. So
I mean,
fucking hurts.
So long as you can get Nukia and fucking Keloqz to play nice, you know, I think that like that was like that's
that's
the
next step too, right?
An unresolved element that could pose an issue further down the track. I mean, I would argue that the reinstating of Keloqz is more of a you know, a time constraint sort of issue than anything else, right?
I agree. If like as soon as they have a loss for G2, will that issue start to resurface, you know? But so far we're in a honeymoon period because they're just fragging out and they're beating every team like I think yesterday was like 13-1, 13-1. They just played against Frog Munchers 13-0 and a 13-3. So they're doing very, very good in the open qualifiers. And I want to know what's going to happen once you start meeting this opposition in the second run. And thankfully, too, in the second run, we are in Challengers too. So like those top teams that like Guild, for example, they don't need to play. So they still have great chances here to move forward.
I mean, this is kind of all right. I mean, Avova's always kind of spicy, right? This is pretty intense. This this happened after they lost, right? I mean, if I Mixwell, I'm like, what the fuck? Am I catching strays from my fucking teammates on Twitter?
Could you imagine waking up and like your duo, let's say like your casting duo, right? Just uploads a photo of that and just goes, you know, whatever one of their previous duos was, and you're like, what the fuck? I would be ringing my duo like that hour. I'd be like, what the fuck is good with you? Like, get that shit off Twitter. Hello, if you got a problem, come man up.
Dude, I mean, if Matt posted a photo of like that with Maven in there or some shit, I'd turn him into a fucking whack-a-mole component.
I think, but I think it's just exactly. He was just trolling at the same time. In the end, when you're looking at G2, they were just following like the G2 style of just throwing out the jokes, right? But what I do like, and to take this on a more serious note, is actually like Keloqz coming in when that was announced, and Mixwell replied to that being like, "Hey, good luck with everything." And Keloqz like, "Yeah, thank you for everything as well, for the mentorship and whatnot, for me to be able to continue in this way." It shows like the leadership that Mixwell currently has in terms of a characteristic that could be very, very big for another team that's looking for that type of leadership.
We see that tweet again. Go ahead, tweet again. No offense, over, but you're fucking projecting, mate. Like, this guy is like, oh, yeah, you stupid people used to get my team. I mean, listen, you have 240 characters or less, Mr. Checkmark. If you can't make yourself clear in that fucking character limit, then you shouldn't be tweeting it. Sorry, mate. Why? And so you're like, you tweet something that implies that you wish you had a different Jet player on your team.
No
Trolling or not. And then you're like, nah, you cunts are all stupid for, interpreting this in the most obvious way. Mate, I can use fucking Occam's razor on that tweet and think that you don't want Mixwell on your team. That doesn't make me stupid. It means you're just fucking shit at tweeting.
It was really obvious.
But that's Twitter anyways. There's never enough characters to actually get your point out, so there's always going to be something that's going to fucking sound stupid anyways.
Nah, he shouldn't have done that, because a joke is only funny, like especially a quote-unquote inside sarcastic joke like that is only fucking funny if the other person is in on it. If Mixwell just pulls out his phone and goes, what the fuck, cunt? That is not a joke. That's like that's something else.
And everyone else is like, well, no one else has the context to this. So the fucking tens of thousands of people that follow Avova are going to, I'm sorry, like literally, like it's not a stretch to assume that like he's actually shitting on his own teammates. So sorry. And then he blames it on everyone else for being stupid. Fucking miss me with that shit, homie. All right. There was banter though, around this result. So not just Avova. I mean, if you want to call it banter, that's fine. There were memes. What is this one? Is this actually...
Yeah, so that was basically Average Jonas going into doing a watch party of G2, and it's like, hey Carlos, you want to hop on and we'll do a watch party with this, and then well, you can read it here. Carlos like, nah man, I'm busy. We're just gonna fucking own everybody 2-0 anyways. Famous last words, and that's it.
Yeah, famous.
I mean, oh man, I'm sure Jonas asked me if he could tweet that private conversation, regardless of its content. So.
Fucking he's the best. He's fucking hilarious.
Just fucking banting.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. So, and there was some fucking tweet, right? I know we looked at the one about heretics. I think we've covered all that, the nonsense. Anyway, so Mixwell now is not playing right now, and obviously the team's doing just fine. So, any sort of personal differences between members of G2 aside, they're winning, and frankly, there are only minnows that stand between them and sort of the closed qualifier now. So they have, I think, one more match up in about half an hour exactly, and they win that, and they're through to close. They've got teams like 10-star. Who else is in there? Alliance, Rebels, and Vitality to still get through. So they still have to go out. The two teams that fucking beat them are still going to be in this closed qualifier. So we're going to need to see a marked improvement from them. So far, though, gang, looks like we are getting that.
Also, like as we're talking about, like switches and player switches going to open qualifier number 2, OG also has David P that's actually playing with them right now.
He's on a trial, though, right?
Yeah.
David P forever trialing.
Yeah. So they're playing Goose House so far. They lost the second map in overtime, 15-13. So it's going into a third one. Unfortunately, no VODs, no streams for that. So we're just gonna have to play the scoreboard, Steven, and see how it goes.
Is that David P and his high school girlfriend? Is that the David P we'll talk about?
He has a high school girlfriend?
Wait.
Are we unearthing other stuff right now?
Whoa, what a just leak, bro.
Oh my god. All right.
Oh my god.
That's some fucking spice. Wait. Did I have to play Yonk? Did you say I have to play Yonk to get through?
I don't know that. Listen,
okay, hang on. Delete the VOD.
Delete
okay.
the VOD. What did you say?
We'll see if we find out a bit more about that one down. Oh man, David P just cannot seem to put himself on the right side of history, can he? They
potentially had to play Yonk if Yonk are beating Balkan Stars, because both of these series are currently 1-1.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. In the open qualifier?
Open qualifiers, yeah.
Fucking hell. Okay, I didn't scroll far enough down the brackets. Yeah. My bad. Yonk 1-2-1. Ooh. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Doom Bros.
All right. Well, we'll try and keep you all apprised of that one.
Let's change topics now.
Let's talk about all right. So Guild advanced, obviously through the upper bracket here. So obviously victories against 10-star, Rebels, and then Vitality. That's a big one.
That was close though. Like the trouble is, you look at that 3-0 and you're like, oh my god, Vitality got shit on. They ran out of steam and shit like that. I'm like, bro, no, go back to the individual matches. That shit was close. That shit was so close. And like that was a fire series. And unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to like go through everything that I want to go through. But that series is one to watch because I think for everyone who was like a Vitality fan and then they watched that, they were in some French like LAN thing or something, or thing against like Alliance and shit, and they did really well recently. I think that was like their most recent like comp shit
was that
they were
last
playing
year, though?
here. Yeah,
are you talking about Vitality?
Yeah, but this was when after they changed, and now that they're playing like this, and I was sitting here going, well, are they really going to have anything going for them with this much time? And so I was like, all right, how have they got it? And throughout this entire closed, And I know a lot of us were pulling the shit about people who were invited and who weren't. They're like, oh, all the people who got invited are fucking shit. It's only the open qualifiers. Like, yeah, okay, sure. Maybe the open qualifiers is like the way. You shouldn't do the invite system the way that's been done. But Vitality from the get-go, even after G2 shit the bed, and against Big, who I think is doing really good things.
I mean, it's brutal for Vitality. They come within like a hair's breadth of qualifying on 2 occasions here.
So you know, every time we talk about NA and we're like, hey, NV was like the NV of 2020 when they always get like 4th place and never get that far. And then suddenly, like, they do a small switch, and then suddenly everything is going super well. I think that's Guild right now going into 2022, while Vitality is kind of like the exit now of 2021. Is like they're so close, but they just can't make it. They just need like something
Vitality
else.
Actually, Exit actually made it through in lower bracket though.
Yeah, but they're Vitality also like the 4th place kind of like team for 2021, right? Yeah.
There's just a ton of good storylines in EMEA right now. It's actually kind of insane. Like this this retooled Guild roster with like Russ and Trex, Cold Mentor on here.
Russ, bro. Holy shit.
I love this roster, man. Like I think overall too, like I think there was like an interview with the coach prior to the event, right? I think it's Babar, if I'm not mistaken, the coach. And he had a conversation with Yinsu prior to this match actually against Vitality. And he's like, yeah, man, we've been going through 6 weeks of practice. We didn't have too much time to have Christmas or New Year's. We were just laying down the practice run just to make sure that we're as comfortable as we could be going into these open qualifiers. And it paid out. It paid off because also I think there was another tweet that came out that they trialed 16 players before they actually got into this roster right now. So not only do you pick like now 3 new players into this roster into like Russ, Trex, and Coldamenta, but at the same time, you've had some agent changes, right? Safe is going into a Jet where he was actually really good as a Sentinel player. And then Trex is like, okay, how is this going to pan out right now for the team? Trex has had amazing rounds, I think, on Breeze. Safe is doing an amazing job on a Jet. And I think Leo is just like continuing to frag out as like a support player too. So Guild looks really, really good right now going into the EMEA Challengers, going into Masters. I think they've probably so far have had the best improvements of 2022.
Fast too. Really fast. This is what I was talking about before. Like people who missed out in the beginning. I said like when you put a roster together, like that is the majority of the team. Like you have the majority of the team shooken up. I want shooken to be a fucking word, man. That's all I want. I want shooken to be a fucking word, so I'm gonna make it a word. But I want to make it clear that shouldn't be the norm. Like teams who shake up a predominant amount of their roster and then in a short period of time, because that is a short period of time, they're able to produce such consistent results. That is outside of the norm. And by being able to do that, it is either a mixture of like I don't know, like a honeymoon period that we always talk about, and maybe a possibility of them just clicking really good, or it might just be like they've just accidentally put all the puzzle pieces together and it fits really nicely. We don't know yet, but I'm super like buzzed for Russ because I really like Russ as a player. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, happy birthday, Russ!
Is it today?
Big birthday.
Oh, well, it's the same day. It's the same birthday as Ryan Central, so yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, every day.
Brilliant. All right, so I want to about really quickly, but I want to queue up a discussion about this big roster because this was announced with like build around GOB initially of Counter-Strike fame. Had many quiet months here, I guess, just working towards a result like this, and this is a huge result, right? I mean, they lost to Vitality in uppers, and then they ended up beating them in the lowers 3-0 to actually make it through here. So huge result for this team, who before now hasn't really exploded onto the big stage. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think this is actually quite fun to see Big. Actually, when I was watching this series between Big and Vitality, and I'm looking at this roster, I was like, okay, outside of GOB B, what is this roster? Who is this roster? How did they make it so far? And I kind of had the same type of thoughts for Big when I was trying to follow them in the Counter-Strike days earlier on, when there was like Tabson, Legija, and GOB B. If it wasn't for those 3, then like the roster in itself, are they actually that good? And Big has been doing a great job under GOB B's leadership to be able to get these results, get this revenge match against Vitality. Although, like, I don't know about you, Jess, but like if you look at the other matches and you look at this one, like Obnox actually had a very, very good series overall for Vitality, especially into the third map. I think there was like 2 rounds going into split where he just really clutched it out for the team, for them to be able to like win in overtime in the end against Vitality. But this is still a pretty good roster from my first impressions looking at them.
I'm just worried for like obviously I don't like talking bad about like guys like Gobby and Aslan and stuff, especially when they have the experience and like I'm gonna call it like sort of like a dynasty behind them, because there's big expectations, there's a lot of pressure for them to perform as a result of them being who they are and where they come from, right? So I always put that like, you know, out in front before I say things. But Aslan against Vitality, even though they won and even though it was 3-0, I felt like his role wasn't played effectively. Like, okay, Obnox popped off, for example. Like in the entire series, Obnox popped off. But why is Aslan unable to be consistent? What is the problem with him always middling for the team?
Yeah.
Like that's my problem, is the consistency a problem here?
Yeah, so the Aslan versus Vitality, I think I paid a lot of attention to that into that third map, and I feel like it was like a jet battle, right? Because both of these teams did not play a Viper
playing jet on split
in that third map.
Both
exactly, they both played a jet on split, and they both. So I'm talking about Vitality and Big here, right? So they both played a jet, and they both did not play a Viper. Whereas for one side, you kind of played a double duelist for Vitality with Vac and Kadavra. And then for the other side, you had a Sage for Obnox and a Jet for Aslan. And you used the breach on each side to like anchor out on sites, which then means there's less control and less like time wasting with no Viper. So you're gonna have to fight a lot for mid control. And fighting a lot of mid control was a lot of Jet initial battles and duels between Aslan and between Kadavra. And Kadavra was kind of like getting the best out of him for a lot of these fights overall. But then Aslan, you have some rounds where he was just able to pop off, and it was the important rounds that Big needed to win. So yeah, maybe he's not a star fragger as a Jet for the team, but I think overall, when it comes down to what Gobby has in store of how you want to scale the map as a team, it still works out pretty well.
No, the last time I've seen a player split like duties between Astra and Jet, it was Mummy, I want to say. Back when he was on that NV team. That's a fucking really weird mix of agents to be playing.
I mean, he plays like he played a bunch of Viper as well, no? Like he was controlling a bit. Like I don't know how long ago this was, but like on my list of things, especially like back when, God, I can't even remember what.
Yeah, I mean, he's played more Viper than anything else in the last couple months.
Well, there you go. So he's still doing that then. So I mean, the man just says, okay, what do we need on this map? I'll play it, which, okay, fair enough. I'm just worried that affects his ability to be consistent on a role where his team needs him to be role consistent.
Yeah, sure. All right,
so that could be the problem.
Let's move on and talk about CIS here, because obviously it's a region I don't think there's any English casting for these games actually, which is a little bit of a shame. Obviously, because there are teams such as FPX and Na'Vi, probably the main ones from this region. Obviously, OBG's mixed in there, and then a bunch of teams that I've never seen before. Obviously, it was about Na'Vi, it was about FPX, and we got a sick final. We got a best of 5. It went all 5 maps. Obviously, this Na'Vi team's really been, really been making some waves. Obviously, JD coming across from NIP. Cloud was a really hyped up player as well. And yes, we're still wanting to see this FPX team make a real bounce back, on the European stage in general. And this is a good start for them, right? Obviously, with Oderus now in tow and a bit of a different look for this team.
Oderus and Zipan, right? So they had some changes going into this roster too. So I think FPX looks pretty good. I honestly was trying to watch these before the show, but again, there's not enough hours in a day to try to catch up to everything right now in terms of odds. At least Doom Bros is in the chat, so I got to send my congratulations to Doom Bros for this FPX roster to make it to the EMEA. I think this now is going to set some sights to, okay, now we could actually pay attention to this roster. What is it going to look like? They went from like a fractured no duelist into what they currently have and building right now into Icebox, which looked pretty good. They went to a whole series though, right? A whole 5-map series between these two teams. Whereas, okay, Gambit, clearly looking at the #1 team in CIS, who's that number 2? Can they actually topple off Gambit right now? And looking at the series or just looking at Doombro's coaching with how FPX changed with their roster, I'm excited to find out if they could actually make a mark during the EMEA Challengers in like a month.
I mean, it's bare minimum expectation though. I think for this team and the players.
Actually, not even
right?
a month. It's like in 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, Dude, it's just around the corner. That's what I'm saying. Like we're in like open qualifiers of Challengers 2 right now. It's actually insane how quickly this is all going. We're fucking over halfway through January. Let that just sink in for a sec. So obviously here's your post game look, and yeah, again, a lot of KO coming out here from this Na'Vi team, and it's great to see like a decent amount of competition out there in the CIS. Team Bros is threatening to remove all the duelists from FPX. God forbid. God forbid.
People in the chat already talked about it, but I definitely did want to throw like a sideshow jinx to say that you could really see the momentum building for FPX going to into their first championship title. But we'll see. We'll see. I actually have high hopes for FPX going into the EMEA Challengers.
I want CIS to just come in and like create a storm. That's all I want, is like just like another quote unquote sub region that people like always just like, you know, push to the side. And I'm like, oh man, because in Siege, like we had that. We had like the CIS region just come in and absolutely wipe the floor with everyone. And so when I moved over to Valorant, I was like, all right, CIS, my favorite region in Siege. It'll be my favorite region in Valorant too. I'm like, let's go, like make some waves. And so far it hasn't been like big, but like there is
what was
hope.
it in Rainbow Six? Was Team Empire or something, right?
Team Empire, and then Virtus Pro joined in, and then so you know, they've got some good ones. We just need
they got some great fraggers in there. You got Simple in CSGO. Like fuck, they have a good region.
Are you guys willingly forgetting about Gambit Gaming?
No, because we already know they're good. I already said that Gambit was at number one.
That's one team though. Like if you have just one team that's consistently doing good, it's probably just filled with great players regardless of their region. You know what I mean? Like
I think between Gambit, FPX, and Na'Vi, like CIS is kind of fucking sick right now. I think that Europe has insane depth already, and I think that EMEA looks better as a region because a lot of their depth comes from CIS. And like solid Turkish teams when they're playing well, right?
So all the EU fans can continue to be like, oh yeah, EU region number one, but you know, well, they got so many regions to go behind to try to win.
EMEA,
right?
To be fair, but here's what I'm thinking. If you could bundle North America and South America together, you'd probably have some depth too. You know what I mean? Outside of like one or two teams. That's
now we could go for Sentinels and crew and stuff like that too. But like at the end of the day, do you really want to mix North America and South America when you actually have Zombs? I think anyone wants
to be mixed with North America. I'll be fair with you right now. Like I don't think we're doing a good deed here.
That's true. Regions. I think if I'm South America, I want that shit kept away. I mean, I'd fucking want to build a wall of my own, just in the other fucking direction. You know what I mean? I'm like crew and shit. I'm like, yo, get this Sentinels bullshit out of my face. So let's not dilute things here. All right, quickly on Turkey. Obviously, plenty of well-known names competing in their champions. In their Challengers one. Teams the likes of Futbolist, Fireflux, Fenerbahce, BBL, Galacticos, and Supermassive Blaze. And eventually it's Fireflux versus Supermassive Blaze in the final. Both these teams pretty stand out. We've obviously seen Fireflux before on the international stage, and they made a very, very hasty exit. And Supermassive Blaze were really underwhelming at their last international showing here. So this region has a little bit to show, especially now with how, you know, EMEA, the rest of EMEA is really developing some of that depth now as well. I mean, you know, not to speak of, you know, what's going on with G2, but there's a lot of just insane rosters in Europe in general. So Turkey's still fighting for recognition, not only on the world stage, but within the EMEA region, I think. And this look from Supermassive Blaze after making a lot of changes, right, is going to have to be a good one. I think Cider, Glove, and Zistu are the new additions to join with Izzy and Brave, who remained after the main roster splintered off.
I think you had a whole region shakeup right now in rosters too, right? Because when you're looking at the teams that you mentioned before, Futbolist was another one that was like, oh crap, going into like Masters 1, if I'm not mistaken, was like, oh, this is the team to look out for like the EMEA qualifiers, and then boom, they didn't do that well, and then they continue to bomb out right now into their own region in Turkey. So you're just trying to see, okay, what's going to be the best outcome out of all of these roster shakeups that are happening so far with Turkey? Is SMB going to be that team? I thought that Fireflux was actually that team that was actually on that come up at the same time from 2021 already.
Sure.
But they're still falling short. So despite all that, this is why, not to discredit, of course, the Turkish region, but it's also like, okay, well, it's kind of like South America. They're doing well within the region. They get into the Masters or whatnot, and then they just get owned, you know? So I'm hoping that we're going to see something different for 2022, but I didn't fully watch the whole bracket of this region.
Yeah.
How many of them got taken out as a result of that Twitch scandal as well? I don't know. I
Yeah,
have no
true, right?
numbers. I have no knowledge of how many people, but I saw the police raiding
Yeah.
apartments and houses, and I'm like, okay. When I say got taken out, I mean like physically brought out of their houses, unable to play in any way, shape, or form. So there is probably a lot of people who like either have red flags above them or are physically banned from like being able to compete in some way, shape, or form now. So yeah, that's also like something to bring up, is that hit that region hard as well. Which is such a shame because it was like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
a
what
region we couldn't keep out of our mouths for ages.
30, 40 people, I think that was mentioned, but there's no names, right? So we don't really know exactly
I think
if
the
it's just Valorant players.
As
Yeah,
well.
it could be content creators, could be anything, right? So we'll have to see how that story unfolds. But yeah, good luck to the teams. And actually, before sorry, I'm throwing a curveball here. I just saw a breaking here from George Geddes that for NA VCTs that have yet to be announced when the fucking registrations are going to happen, in the event supposed to be in like 9 days. But apparently we have Cloud9, Sentinels, Envy, and 100 Thieves that actually got a direct invite into the Challengers 1 main event. So they will only play in February, which then means that what you have, I think, if it's similar to everything else, then you have what, 18 or 12 teams that are going to qualify from the Open Challengers, Open Qualifiers, to play with these 4 teams.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I think they had to do this because the situation was so fucking dire that one or more of those teams might not have been in Challengers full stop. Because there's one fucking open qualifier, right? Is it unlikely? Sure, but it's happened. Like we've seen it. We've seen even the likes of Sentinels have dropped maps and matches here and there, right? It's really unlikely, but it's possible. So, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's the least they had to fucking do. Let's just be clear about that one. I think.
Yeah.
Well, we can keep talking about that though, because there was some drama around the second qualifier. Because here's how it works, right? It's open sign up. Last week, we were like, oh, yeah, all the top teams, I mean, they're going to be right there ready to sign up straight away. That was a fucking lie. So apparently, there were a few teams, BDS, I guess, is, for example, I guess, and a few other more known teams that were manually confirmed for Open Qualifier 2, even though they would have been on the waiting list based on how late they signed up. That's correct, right, guys? So they basically got the old, they got yoinked straight on in here. So I think this list that Nexi is showing us is some of the teams that got moved up, got put into the open qualifiers ahead of others.
Tova, G2, XL after in the list, but they still get in before us. So that would scream to me that these teams got moved up the list, even though Nexi had taken, I assume, stock on who was below and above and all of those kind of things. And all
it's a first come, first serve basis, right? So then,
well, I mean, it was.
So this is not a truly open qualifier. Then we can just establish that right now, because there is a limit. It is first come, first serve. The fact that how bad is it? Is it like trying to get concert tickets? You know, is it like if you're not there like the second of, you're gonna miss out? Or like, is there a window? If you were just like not lazy as fuck, could you have signed up? Because this is what I'm trying to understand. Because if teams are just
what's the window?
Yeah, because if teams are like leaving it a whole day and then signing up, then they shouldn't be getting grandfathered in like this. Like, it's kind of insane.
Yeah, I wonder.
G2 were 2 days late. G2 were two. Don't let them play. If they're 2 days late to sign up to this tournament, don't let them play. Why are we rewarding this absolute fucking indolence?
How do you have an entire support staffing system and you cannot sign up for one of the most important tournaments? You need to be signing up in that period of time for your entire team that is not playing anything else at that period of time.
Like, I mean, it was karmic justice because they fucking lost the first qualifier. And this is the second. This is the second qualifier, right?
Were they allowed to sign up to both at once? The first qualifier and the second qualifier?
No, I think the second qualifier sign-up's only open on the 11th, right? So that would have been during the first qualifier? Maybe?
G2 did this sign-up on the 13th.
But you guys are right. It's not on the players or whatever. It's whoever's managing the team that should have been on top of that shit anyways, because you're allowed 256 spots. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, look, it should have been obvious.
There isn't. So, this is the official Valorant Esports EMEA account. let me get my head around this. We recently made some changes to the second Challengers Qualifier, so we want to clarify. The qualifier stage is designed as an instrument to find the best teams. Fair enough. More teams sign up to qualify 2 than the slots allowed. I mean, I guess because you just had to limit the time of your event. So amongst those who signed up, after all, 256 slots were filled with teams that perform well in Qualifier 1. So they're making it clear here that there was preferential treatment offered to teams that quote unquote perform well in Qualifier 1.
Yeah.
That, right. I mean, okay, that is fine. But again, like, couldn't you just make that clear early on? And also, it's not an open qualifier, isn't it? You are basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, you have included invite slots in this qualifier now for teams that perform well in Qualifier 1. So it's
the moment they said were teams that performed well in Qualifier 1 is the moment they tainted themselves. They could have shut the fuck up. They could have shut the fuck up and said, based off whoever participated in Qualifier 1, we automatically slotted those teams in, and those who did not, and therefore were not given a higher option of being automatically seated in, or whatever it might be, right? That I would have believed. That I would have been like, you know what? I maybe would have thought about that, like, because they did 1, those teams didn't do 1, so as a result they get put into 2 because they've already, participated in 1, and they are likely to therefore participate in more tournaments, and you want to praise that kind of behavior, whatever, right? But the moment they said performed well in Qualifier 1, they fucked themselves so royally that any other tweet after that was just mute. It was just like, it was pointless. You've now said it, you invited them.
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, I understand, like, if you're, listen, like, how, like, this guy that's complaining, this Nexi guy, right? I mean, his team looks like they probably signed up a little late as well. So, like, someone has to get fucked here. Yeah, someone's going to get pushed down the list,
right? Yeah.
Obviously, a bit of transparency early on would be great, but, like, this is Valorant again, treating everything like a fucking test run. Even though we're in the second year of their esports, they're still like, oh, people forget about it. We'll just wave a fucking new agent in front of people's faces, and this will all blow over in due time. Just like, people forgot about our sexual assault allegations because of Arcane. It's easy. We just fucking keep churning along, guys. Keep making shit happen. So that's the way it is now. And I guess when this doesn't get upheld in the future as a precedent, people are also going to be mad. So
yeah.
This continues. If a team signs up late to Qualifier 2, is put on the waiting list, but had reached the round 4, then they would manually get adjusted to be in there. Obviously, they can't just say we're putting G2 in. They have to say teams that made it this far. But this is all retroactive. This is all retroactive now. So any team that makes it to round 4 in qualifier, I guess there's no qualifier 3, right? So this is theoretically not going to be a problem. But the rules got changed. Let's just be blunt, Vans. The rules got changed to allow teams like G2 to play.
Yeah.
Even though they should be punished for their fucking laziness. They're 2 days late for sign up. 2 days. Why is there no accountability for this? Like, if
I agree. Like, I'm not into the favoritism for this type of stuff, right? That's why, like, for example, in NA, all the NSG weeklies are like a first come first serve basis, and if you made it, you made it. If you don't, you don't, and you just have to be on point and make sure you have like 18 monitors fucking open as a manager of a team to make sure you're able to sign up. And speaking of which, like, speaking about signups, again, I'm going back to the NA stuff. Apparently in chat they're saying that we've switched out from 1 North American qualifier to 2 open qualifiers now. It hasn't been announced yet by Valorant, but if you're looking at the NSG website, although even NSG hasn't announced it, in 3 minutes you're actually able to sign up for the open qualifier number 1 and number 2.
That's great. Why can't people just not be shit in the first place? Why do we have to go around and around for a month for people to do what should be bleedingly obvious? Why are we still doing this? It's the fucking current year, guys. 2022, and this is like a bunch of fucking gigantic forehead pundits need to get on a 3-box fucking podcast and swear a bunch to get this shit done. Sorry, man. I don't really understand this. Like, this is no one's first rodeo anymore. I don't know why we're still having to do this shit. Thank God we can all get together and fucking, screech impotently about these changes and get them fixed. I mean, we might have a chance to talk about that later on. Anyway, so just let me poll you guys. Is this fair? Is this fair?
If I take into context what was just written in chat about the fact that it was supposedly more than just G2, it was quote unquote half of the good teams, which is such a blanket statement. So I'm just going to quote that. If I take that on board as a fact, then they were going to be fucked for qualifiers too. From a viewership, from a this, from a that, from a how many teams don't make it, who should have been in the qualifiers. So they had to rectify it on behalf of the fucked teams, which is beyond G2. So
who got like is it did they fuck themselves or did they get fucked is the question here, Jess? You know,
well,
just
how
to
do
really
so many
speak
teams,
in Australian terms.
Yeah. How many teams did not sign up out of their own shitty management?
Yeah.
Or how many teams didn't sign up because there was a unknown factor of miscommunication to when they should have or how they should have, or maybe someone communicated they would automatically be put in there. Who knows? I don't fucking know. So that's the contextual bit I'm missing to say whether or not that's fair. But if I just looked at it from the outside and it was just G2, and I'd be like, well, yeah, they don't participate in qualifier 2. Lazy fucks.
I feel it was definitely mismanagement from G2's end, because look, how many teams? Yeah, how many teams are able to qualify from the open qualifiers last week to go into the EMEA Challengers, right? Out of 256 teams in week number 1, only 2 teams. I mean, which then means that even if you're fucking ranked number 1 or number 2 in Europe right now,
a quarter of the teams who made it into the top 32.
So what do you do now? What do you do now, Vance? What do you do now? A quarter of the top teams did not ready themselves in the system administration that they needed to.
It's not just G2 being shit.
It's not.
This is a systematic problem.
Right. What, you guys are saying that it's not the org's issue that they're not able to sign up their team on time?
Well, hold on. I'm just saying, if it happens to 8 out of the top 32 teams from the previous qualifier, is the issue more systematic? Is it like poor communication to them about expectations or sign up expiry dates or something like that? All I'm saying is, we have to, the fact that this is not just one team, when you can sort of, you know,
it's not one,
say,
it's not two, it's not three, it's fucking like 5 times.
Yeah.
But is it
I expected?
A bunch of those 32 teams don't have to sign up for the next one because they what, 2 of them, or one, 2 of them make it through. So it's even more than a quarter necessarily the teams that have to re-sign up. I'm just saying,
that's what I'm saying. Like they have to expect that out of all of these teams that are signing up, only 2 make it through. So even if you're ranked number 1 or number 2 in Europe, you still have like an off day we could lose to be like, we should still sign up no matter what. So if they don't make it, is it because of poor timing or poor management from the org that 8 out of 32 didn't sign up? Or is it like one of those issues where behind the system, when you're actually trying to buy a ticket for like Celine Dion, for example, and then like it's now 3 p.m. I'm trying to fucking sign up. My fucking browser is going like this and I can't, and then I refresh and boom, there's no more spots.
Because if G2 was 2 days late, then there's something else. There's got to, I truly believe there is some communicative thing going on in the background where some admin or some management of some kind is telling the management in an email, like, yeah, thank you for participating in qualifier 1. We look forward to you in qualifier 2. And all of a sudden everyone's making this assumption, oh, we're in qualifier 2. You know what I mean? Like something stupid like that to have 8 full teams.
Only one team has been forced onto the waiting list who was originally in the tournament as a result of this change, right?
Who is that one team?
I don't. Well, who fucking knows? The last one this week. Currently, one team is on the waiting list of qualifier 2, who was originally in the round of 256. So
and we push them out. Bro, I gotta know who this fucking team is. That's hilarious.
I mean, I don't know. It could be that Nexi's guy's team, or it could be a different one.
You think Nexi's sticking his Nexi out for others?
I mean, you're gonna have to wait for the Nexi Open Qualifier, I guess. Motherfucker sat there with an esports jersey on though, so surely his team is must be known enough to get grandfathered into this whole schmozzle. What are we thinking? So I don't know. If you are a member of the team that got shunted out, let us know. We'll mention your name and then give you a minute of silence. Okay, maybe 3 seconds. It's pretty good considering how much talking goes on this show. That's a good rate, I think. Like, you know, maybe we can negotiate it. If you have management, you know, I assume you have management because you tried to sign up at least. So, you know, I don't know how good they are if you've got put them. Anyway, doesn't matter. Here's another little bit of controversy. Fuck me, dead. Controversy to talk about.
I was like, holy shit, where did you gain this accent all of a sudden?
No, dude, yeah, it's fuck, mate. I mean, what you're based in Europe now, right? Trust me, it's coming for you as well. Living in Europe, fuck my accent up real bad. So G2, I mean, it gits more interesting here. So someone sent a video of Nukie in the clutch, right? The nasty little 1v3. And Pipson, the coach of G2, is heard is heard behind him. And apparently Nokia sort of deleted the link to it. So Nokia's uploaded this video and has realized, hang on, this video shouldn't exist. So basically, there's a reason for Nokia to delete the video, and the speculation is that Pipson is calling. Pipson is theoretically IGLing in the background on this video. Now, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know what language they're talking. Like, it's a whole fuckfest. So, we'll play it for you guys, and you can make up your own mind.
Is there a way to slow that down? Because if it's the guy who says one more, is it the guy who says one more? Is that Pipson?
So that's this whole story around there, right? Like, which voice is Pipson? Is it really Pipson? Is he actually calling right now? Because so far, the only thing that we've heard potentially, any of these voices right now, if one of them is Pipson, the best thing that we heard was nice, Nuke, right? There was no like,
but how is he allowed to
very
talk?
well done. Sorry?
But why is he allowed to talk to begin with? How is
Well, that's
he
the
in
thing.
their
That's the other
comms?
issue. That's the issue. The first one is that he's being heard, right? And then the second layer would be if it's actually Pipson that's being heard, is he actually calling during the rounds or not during these G2 matches?
Well,
in
he's
this clip,
got open mic
doesn't
to him,
say
mate.
it. Sorry?
Well, I mean, he's heard on the POV
He shouldn't be
from
heard,
Nokia,
you're right.
right?
It
so
shouldn't be heard. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it
I
just
agree
shouldn't
with
be
you guys.
in comms, right? I guess they could be muted in comms, but I don't know how this is policed or to what degree, right?
It is not.
It's an honor system. I assume.
That's it. That's it.
In,
That's it.
in
Isn't it
Siege,
more
they have to have an admin in the voice chat to avoid that.
But do
Isn't
we?
this more concerning though that not that they're breaking the rules, but that they're being IGL by their coach? Like, wouldn't because when you get to a fucking LAN event, or you sure as hell can't IGL your team, then what?
Mhm.
Like, this seems like. So, you know, we talk about, we don't know if it's Pipson or not, but let's just assume that it is.
Right.
Mhm.
This seems like a pretty, is this them just trying to band-aid the situation, obviously having to sort of, you know, make these changes now, or what? Because it's never a good sign when a team has to be IGL by their coach.
Mhm. Yeah, no. If assuming if it's Pipson that's speaking, then
Mm.
this is not how G2 should function in the fucking first place, right?
Well,
Because that is
There's
not going to
now 40
happen
There's
on
now
a
like
stage.
40 issues as a result of this in different spheres around this. The
Yes.
ones that are blaringly obvious to me is number one, there is shit administration of how coaches are allowed to be, how many people are allowed to be in a voice chat, etc., all this kind of stuff. Whatever, that's a problem of its own, right?
Uh-huh.
Following the rules, admin, whatever it might be.
sure.
Then moving over to that is that if that is, there is some calls in the background and whatnot, and the fact that you deleted the video makes me fucking think that they don't want anyone
Mm.
listening to this over and over again. So
Mhm.
just saying, you don't delete anything unless you know there's something that shouldn't be there. That's for fucking
Yeah, but
sure.
at this point, it's just so hard to control, man. You're in an open fucking qualifier. Are you next time as a
Sure.
TO think that you need to have 128 admins? No, actually, you need 256 admins because you need
Yeah.
one in each fucking voice channel at that point to be
Yeah.
able to.
No, it's no, stop. It's the closed qualifier that this happened in.
Ah,
So it's 8 fucking teams or whatever.
Still the same thing. Like, so for example, if you're looking at the champion stage or master stage or whatnot, every single one of these games are currently going through and broadcast it one by one. So there is technically enough resources to have an admin in each one of these channels, or one admin that gets all the boxes that's able to hear everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
once you get into like even NSGs into like 16 teams, do you have an admin in each channel? Probably not.
Yeah, but how is that relevant though? I mean, in this case, there should have been the bandwidth to at least enforce this ruling, right? Like, you have 8. I like, why wouldn't you just switch then to having more admin oversight when you have the bandwidth to do so? Like, what does it cost you? You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, if
before-
they do it in Siege and we know what the fucking budget is there, come on.
I don't know. I mean, Siegecasters did like 8 months of a season without contract, so I don't know what the fuck you guys do. You guys-
Those
guys are out
motherfuckers are
there.
wilding over there. I can't believe they even stepped in and fucking work and did that. Sheesh.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. All right, so
Look,
we don't. I mean, the fact he
we don't
deleted the
know.
video though. What, maybe there was like was there a
that's
profanity in a different language maybe that we didn't know?
No.
Because that was, I mean,
No.
someone is fucking going at it. But anyway, it's Sussy. It's Sussy Barker. That's all I'm gonna say about that one. Let's move on. Let's talk about some fucking cleanse my palate with some roster moves. Yeah, because NA is just a fucking joke right now. Let's go. 100 Thieves stealing my hope. Have announced their new roster. So it's Asa, Hiko, Ethan, and the rumors are true. It's Eccles and BabyJ. Let's get some reactions here. I know I got your reaction already, Vans, when we talked about the rumor and we knew this would likely be the case, but this is a big step up, a big opportunity for players like Eccles and BabyJ.
Yeah.
Obviously, Eccles previously on No Poaching after he was on NIP for a stint, right? After this whole this liquid fish 1, 2, 3 shebang. So love to get some thoughts here. What's the purpose of these players? Are they going to fill the role that they're required to fill?
Oh, man.
Give it to me straight, Doc.
Well, I said it last week, man. I have hopes for this team. I actually believe in this team that it's going to be doing
too many cooks in the kitchen.
pretty decently.
Just fucking say it, bro.
For me, I actually do believe in Eccles. I think he's going to do a tremendous job, not only IGLing, but I think that he's going to actually be able to frag out. He's going to be able to frag out in this team. He's going to be able to. Probably doesn't need to frag out as much because he already has somebody like Ethan and BabyJ and Asuna that are going to be able to frag out for this team too. So if it's just at the helm trying to move these pieces moving forward, I think that this could work out pretty well for 100 Thieves. Now, where I find this a little bit contradictory is, or should I say, where I don't think that 100 Thieves deserves it is. They actually got the bye going into this open qualifier, into the closed qualifiers now. And I don't think 100 Thieves deserve that if they have so many different changes in their roster, despite the history that they've gotten in 2021, right? Because they lost Nitro, they've lost Steel. Would they produce the same type of results? Potentially not, I think, looking at this roster in 2022. But I don't think that should have stood behind them to allow for them to play into the direct invites for the Challengers 1 minute.
Yeah, I mean, these guys get to bypass the open qualifier, which is nice, but also, where are they going to get their fucking practice? Like, that's fucking brutal. So what they're first showing is going to be Challengers 1 closed, right?
Correct.
And okay, so they get a double elim bracket at the very least, right? But so
I think so.
Eccles is probably going to IGL this team, right?
Yes,
I mean, that's
he is.
Pretty.
He's got his
pretty
visa.
fucking...
He tweeted out that he got his visa. He's able to go to Texas now. So all of 100 Thieves are probably going to play through the complexity compound again. So you're going to have that type of support all ready to play in a LAN environment, to play all close together. Well, with 2 meters distance, of course, ladies and gentlemen. But play together in the same room and actually be able to just try to work that out and see if it's going to work. I think it will, man. I believe that. I think it's not only on Eccles, but I actually have high hopes for BabyJ in his roster.
What's better, this or the T1 roster? Oof. Who wins?
I'd probably still have to give it to 100 Thieves.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably still have to give it to 100 Thieves. Like, T1 looked pretty good. I don't know if you guys watched the NSG Weekly yesterday.
I saw them lose to ZMM, I think. That's
yeah, they lost to Zero Marksman, and then they had a very, very good series against BBG. Was that series I was watching yesterday?
If they beat BBG, they should go straight to champions.
True,
why the fuck are we
BBG
even
beat Sentinel,
wasting our time talking about this?
Super easy. Super easy.
Unreal.
So, actually, you know what? I'm going back. T1's winning champions 2022.
I love this. I love this BBG meme, dude. I will never let it go. So we talked about Eccles then. Let's talk about BabyJ. Comes onto this fractured FaZe clan roster, right? Takes the role of Sentinel. Zachary moves towards Initiator, playing Sky, playing Breach, right? It's a different look for this team, but it felt like FaZe were already kind of fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like Raucus looking outwardly. Corey, obviously, you know, with other opportunities potentially coming his way. Did we get a proper look at what kind of player BabyJ is? You know, because what is it that we're not seeing that 100 Thieves are seeing that makes them want to, you know, bring him up to replace Steel?
He gunned and consistently. Like, I get it. Like, if we're throwing back, October?
Yep.
We're throwing back October now. So, like, when I say, like, he gunned, I'm like, yo, we're throwing back. But at least, like, from those results, you could say, okay, he consistently gunned. And, like, it wasn't like he was awful almost ever, and on the roles that he was playing, like, especially when he played like Killjoy and shit from memory, that was the only time I knew his name. So he stuck in my mind, at least.
Okay.
BabyJ for me could actually act as a very good second IGL for 100 Thieves as well. He has a very good mind. I think he's tried IGLing for phase 2 when he actually joined that roster and trialed for that roster and did very, very good actually as a support player. Not only I think he played Cypher and some Killjoy, but also played some Breach to support BabyJ.
Well, I mean, he had to IGL because fucking Marv was IGLing that roster.
Exactly. So now you have that second layer in terms of IGL for that team, but also when you're looking on paper, what you saw how BabyJ played when he played with FaZe, and I remember this vividly from Acend, was like he was really good at lurking and getting kills, going through B main back into the spawn side and get kills, right, off rotations. And if you're looking at BabyJ and Steel, it's very similar playstyle when it comes down to lurking. In that sense. So if that's the piece that was missing for 100 Thieves for them to develop into like a Sentinel that's able to lurk to support the rest of the team, I think BabyJ is actually a great addition to that. Because if you're looking at how Steel plays now with T1 with as a Sentinel, he's mainly opping right now on, for example, Split when he's playing Chamber. So there's a change in playstyle in that sense in T1 that maybe didn't fit into what 100 Thieves was looking for because they didn't want somebody that was postering up. They wanted somebody to lurk, and I think BabyJ could bring that.
I think BabyJ is a good player. I think BabyJ is a seriously good addition to a roster. I have more questions about Eccles. I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen. So, yeah. And he was like, people called him an Astra one trick for ages, which I thought was unfair, but was essentially what was going around about him. And he didn't do the best Astra work of an Astra player, so you know what I mean. Like that's why. Yeah. He was tossed around.
We didn't get to see much from that no poaching roster as well because they got poached. All of them got fucking poached pretty quickly. So
yeah,
it's an ambitious move for sure. I'm curious to see what 100 Thieves can provide. I think it puts a lot more pressure on guys like Ethan, guys like Arsenal to really you know like overperform maybe initially on this team. Let's I don't know. Can I be honest with you guys? Every time I see Andbox making a signing, I'm never really ever blown away by it. I would say clearly Oderus, your boy's got his fucking internet fixed, so congratulations, I guess. Mada departs and Oderus comes in.
Get rid of the Canadian.
I mean, we're going so deep here. I need a fucking bathysphere. Can we assess this roster move here for Andbox, a team who are just struggling to find some relevance, I think, in the North American scene.
They're just 3 now, right? So that's Mummy, and
Vice,
now Oderus and Vice. So now Oderus also was another one that even trialed for KCP and for version 1, and I think also even tried.
Wasn't he on version 1?
He was on version 1 for like a couple of weeks, right? I think it was like one qualifier or so. And then once they actually didn't make it that far enough, then he actually unfortunately got the cut. So that's the 3 that they have so far. Oderus again potentially being a second IGL because Vice has been doing pretty good IGLing for Cloud9 in the past, unless they want to try to switch roles there. But we still need to figure out who the next 2 players are going to be for Andbox to be like, okay, is this actually a good one or not? But we mentioned it previously that every time Andbox announced some sort of like 5-man roster or a trial to see how this is going to go for Andbox, it was like, yeah, they're decent, but they're not going to be able to be that consistent qualifying team. You know, they could maybe have like one day where everybody pops the fuck off and then they upset a team, but then you'll never see them at the master stage.
Did you guys see this news? Next Masters, NA gets 2 slots only.
That's enough. That's all we need.
So that sounds like the voice of a man who's fucking come to terms with his situation. What do you fucking mean? Why are we glossing over this? North America is down to 2 slots for Masters.
That's what I said in chat. I'm like, LMAO, like I can't even believe it got to there. Only 2 spots. My man Bala, love Fortnite. Compared to Masters 3 and Champions having 3 spots. Downgraded.
Damn. And I have 1 more spot than I thought they would for Masters. That's kind of fucking look, crazy.
You're developing more regions too, right? At the same time, because now you have like, wait, how does it work now?
Yeah, developing North America primarily.
if anything, did because it all depends. Because Brazil was allowed 2 spots, and then NA was allowed 3 spots. If NA is allowed 2 spots, and then like other regions are still allowed 2 spots, then I'd probably question that a bit. But we kind of got thrashed during Champions, man. Let's be honest here. we kind of got fucking thrashed in at Champions.
We need to see how many slots the other regions get, but
Yeah.
the knee-jerk reaction from North America is that this is a downgrade. I mean, yeah, I think that might be fair to say. That's I mean, it fucking deserved. I mean, this region needs to sort themselves out, you know.
Our NV lost to X10. Fucking Sentinels lost to Crew.
Yep.
Cloud9.
Cloud9
They
looked
made it
good.
out of group.
Let
That was
us
it.
be clear. They looked better than they had in previous games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I don't know. I am definitely sad. I kind of wish that we still had 3 spots. But
This could mean less teams
again,
overall at Masters 1.
Again, we'll have to see how many teams on the other regions, right? So there's like 2 Korea, 2 Brazil, whatever it is. I don't know.
At least Bala has the presence of mind to identify that this could be a knee-jerk reaction, which is fine. I think that is the case. But I mean, that's fascinating news. Let's get back to the really fucking interesting news. Because you know what happened, guys? After Mada, right, got unceremoniously ejected from Andbox, I'm editorializing, Luminosity Gaming scoops him up nice and quick. And the tier 2 do-si-do fucking continues.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't this is comes after the news that Dre and
Proto.
and a Proto are not on LG, so they're going for a big shuffle of their own.
Correct.
Arguably 2 of their best players, right, stepping down from this roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just as Jess pointed out, don't know why these teams are leaving it so fucking late, but here we go. Like literally on the night of, NA are trying to fucking cram for their exam the next day.
and there's going to be expectations. Like people are not going to sit there. Even the teams themselves are not going to sit there and be like, well, give them some time to synergize, guys. They have only just put this together. It's going to be people turn around and be like, look what they did. They threw together a shit roster. Like, bro, please, what is good with you? Okay.
They're trying for EG. Okay. I mean, if I'm EG, that's a nice decision considering that like you lost a lot of like the sort of core players on that team.
Yeah. I think,
like
because what you lost Temperature, Roka, and somebody else, right? Because Booster, Branton, right? I think that's actually some great additions there going into EG. The thing is though, Dre did want to play a lot of Jet with LG before, and that's what Boostio signed up for. So is Dre going to be second duelist now, going back to play like?
Stop playing duelist though.
It's true. At some point he did play some controller as well. So it's I don't know. There's just a lot of like agent switches between a lot of these rosters too. Like even just focusing on LG right now with Mada joining the roster. I think Mada most recently has been playing more duelist than anything else. So he's probably going to be one of those players that's going to be like the main duelist for the team. Dazzle usually loves to play Sova, and so does Moose. But then Moose has been playing more controller. Tig used to be a controller player. He's going to play more Sentinels because you saw him play more Chamber. So I think now you're seeing like, okay, they had the firepower, but now it just depends on, do these new agent roles, will they work for this team?
Didn't Mada play like NSG like literally the other day and like pop the fuck off in the finals?
Yeah, Mada's a fragger. Mada's definitely a fragger. So it's a good addition, I think, for LG. I think overall it's a win-win for both of these orgs actually, for bringing in Mada for LG and then a Proto and Dre for EG is going to be a very nice one too.
Yeah, I'm keen to see EG.
Not to speak of Andbox. I feel like I don't know what Andbox are doing. We'll see. I don't know. They mystify me at the best of times. Hey, here's an interesting move. This is a big announcement. So Bleed, right? This team that was based in Singapore that recently announced fucking Pit has now announced Legija to be joining this team. Obviously, really well-known Counter-Strike player as the coach, right? To be clear. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Pitt said he was moving to Singapore. So is this just like a bunch of European guys looking for like an expat fucking retirement in Southeast Asia? Like, what's going on here?
I'll take it. Live as a fucking king.
Imagine you want to move into another game, right? And we're already seeing a bunch of Overwatch, a bunch of CS, like from every fucking esport moving to Valorant, which is, probably a good fucking plan at this point. And so they're all trying to move over. Let's say Legija is sitting there going, well, I've missed the boat. I've missed the first 10 fucking boats to move over to Valorant. And I'm like, I'm so fucking far behind. I can't even get like, a captain of a ship
you're
anymore.
a 10-pound pom at this point.
Yeah, you're pretty fucked. And so he's sitting there going, well, how do I get in? And someone goes, you want to coach my fucking team? He goes, that's a leg in. That's experience in Valorant. That gives me some kind of experience on my fucking empty VLR. So the man gets on a plane to fucking Singapore.
All right. Singapore pounds. That place is fire.
I mean,
I have
sure.
nothing else to say about Legija coaching this fucking team. It's just random.
It's so random.
A bunch of Singaporean players plus Pitt coached by okay, whatever. They have money. This is just they have money. Whatever, man. They're probably still going to get pooed on inside their own region. I think that's probably the more concerning part because SEA is fucking competitive, dude. We're going to take down the hordes of fucking Thailand and Vietnam teams with fucking sick fraggers. Like,
not the Thai teams, bro.
Yeah, there's no shit fraggers in Vietnam.
Bro, Vans.
What are you talking about? I mean, they're gonna fuck people up. I mean, shit. I mean, dude, look at the American-born Vietnamese players, man. They're fucking crazy, man.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Crazy,
SEA region's gonna fucking own.
Yeah,
The Thai players are freakishly good. Like,
if Pitt thinks he's gonna get an easy play with Bleed and play in Southeast Asia, he might get fucking a rude awakening playing against Southeast Asia.
That's what I'm fucking saying, dude. Yeah, it's not gonna be easy. You know what I mean? Like, Pitt is sorry, but like. Just a very curious decision for sure. As a player who I don't think was considered to be an impact player on G2, and he was never in Counter-Strike was he supposed to be a star player. The guy's a supportive player. So hopefully you have another star in Singapore, or maybe you have this VC money coming out your fucking ear holes and you can just throw it at someone else. Singapore's nice. I mean, I mean, they have the best airport in the world for starters. I don't know, the place is just fucking sick. So I guess if you're in Pitt's position, like, well, I don't know how much longer I'll be doing this for. I'm probably getting offered a pretty decent living and I get to move to Singapore, live somewhere else. It's fine. I get why everyone is doing this. I just don't think the team's going to be anything to be taken seriously at all. But what about this is a team that we've taken seriously in Counter-Strike in a big way, even though they've had their share of controversy. MIBR have acquired a Valorant kids game roster. And I recognize GTN at the very least here. So Vansilli, of course, resident LATAM expert here. What are your thoughts on our MIBR making their grand entry?
Yeah, I mean, you have GTN, of course, from Vikings. Denaru, I think, was playing with Sharks, if I'm not mistaken. Teddy was with Furia, something like that. So I think right now were they on that run for MIBR to try to pick up the ex-Loud roster, right? So the current Loud roster, if I'm not mistaken. So there's just a lot of like these orgs that are trying to invest in the Brazilian scene, and they were probably all in that running for this new super team in Loud. But they got the short end, and now they got to find a new team, and now you're mixing a couple of players from X rosters and hoping that this is going to work out for you in the long run. So I don't know if necessarily this is a team that's going to topple down Loud, but good luck.
Shout out to GTN, by the way, because I had no idea what the fuck was going to happen with TV. I was like, moving? Are they still holding hands? Are they still friends? I was like, I don't even know what's going on. But the fact that he was able to move over is kind of nice.
They got split by the Loud roster, like when Sasi and Sada went over to Loud, along with fucking COVID denier, mate. Whatever his fucking.
Oh, what's his fucking name? Yeah.
Honor.
Oh shit! You know he treated the makeup artist like shit as well. By the way, so the story gets worse.
Yep, I know. Mitch was actually surprisingly. Mitch embellished a little bit, I think, on the hotel story, which is fine. And I mean, Owner can just deny everything, but he did tell, like, he held back on Owner's pretty substandard treatment of other people in Germany.
Long story short, it's fucking shit.
Yeah. The guy, my understanding is the guy's a bit of a chauvinist. So well, I mean, you can see that. Like, just look at his Twitter. He has, like, if you can translate from sorry, I don't know why Argentinian people speak Spanish. I think. If you translate from that, you can see he's got some not so progressive opinions about the fairer sex. Anyway, we'll see. MIB obviously sort of picking up the pieces there. Obviously, some Sharks players. I'm pretty sure Denario was on Sharks more recently for most of last year, I want to say. And Vikings, Vikings. No, it was Sharks first, then Vikings. Sorry, you're right, Vince. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. T1 is my favorite team. I fucking love T1. You know what I mean? The name just rolls off the tongue.
It does.
I love nothing more than embracing a robot AI overlord. Probably the algorithm that produced this dog shit fucking tweet. But this team knows about getting fucking. Does anyone say pwned anymore? Can I get a show?
I do.
You do. You're a fucking boomer though.
Yeah, we can't trust fans. I've not said it. I've not said it.
I'm gonna bring it back though, just because of that. I'm bringing it back.
Okay, let's talk about Pony. Obviously, this guy was on. I remember the first fucking Demon Time. Was he on Demon Time? This team had like Intox on it or something like that. I don't know. So I'm fucking thinking.
I think it was like Cosmic Divide or Devise or something like that. Like I think it was like just trying to like not just trying. Sorry, he was like just grinding the tier 2 scene, basically in North America. So
hasn't Pony been getting pwned? Like again, this is just NSG shit. But like I don't know if it was a tweet or a comment or whatever. I wish I'd be able to link it for everyone. But someone laughed at him. They said, well, even though he's like supporting controlling, he's played like shit.
I don't know, honestly, because when I was watching T1 overall against our BBG game, it was just a fucking fight between Steel and Will, depending on the map. And like these two were like just popping off on both ends. And you know, I think Seven showed like some good promise for this roster into this roster too. He did a pretty good job as a Jet playing on Haven. I think it was Seven.
He's been playing like Astra and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
So he's going away from being like a main duelist and like being more of a support player.
He was like a Jet.
Yeah,
died in the paint,
and
they
now put him on Viper and Astra. That's right, because people were saying he was controlling, but he played like shit.
All time, this guy has 152 games of Jet. He has 4 games of Astra and 2 games of Viper. So this is a recent transition for this guy who was a main duelist beforehand.
Yeah.
Right. What is it with T1 and just fucking forcing players to do shit well, maybe he wanted to do it, right? Maybe. But like this whole situation, fucking hell. It happened with Skadoodle. Yep. Right? Skadoodle fucking got mixed around. I mean, they didn't know what to do with Brax. They had no idea. So now, look, if you're Pony, obviously, if someone says, oh, we'll sign you to T1 if you play smokes, you're probably going to do it, right? I mean, like, it's a huge opportunity, but...
That's the thing, is that the opportunity is so big you don't say no.
But all this is just normal, though, for people to try different roles, right? I mean, we literally just talked about a change of roles, talking about LG, for example, with the new roster. We're saying the same thing for G2 with Mixwell out from a Sentinel playing a Jet player. Like even Big had to go through some roster changes. Guild had to go through some agent changes as well. This is just normal that this is going to happen. It's just a matter of time that if it gels well or not. I mean, you're looking at, like I said, Seven's joining this roster where originally when he joined 100 Thieves was like going to be potentially like a second duelist to Asuna, for example, right? So you bring him into T1 right now to play the main duelist for the team, and then potentially somebody like Curry, who has played some raid in the past, could be that second duelist now, or a flex player, so you have that in there. Then Twyfo, we know him as being a great Sentinel player, so that's already out there. Steel could play some Sova, he could play some Sentinel as well, depending on the map. So what's left? You need a smoke player, but you need somebody not only that could play smokes, but could frag. And if you're playing if you're playing as Pony, 152 games as a Jet, it shows that you're able to frag in the tier 2 scene. It shows that you're able to play a duelist, so you could frag. Can you frag now playing a controller player, right? And now you're trying to mix that in and see if overall it works out in that chemistry. I think you just have to give it, a bit of like testing grounds for another few weeks to see if it works out.
It's fine. It's just weird. Like Curry's playing like Reyna, Sky, and stuff now. Like obviously, the team is like not super multi-dimensional, right? It's like Steel kind of popping off and Seven obviously getting his hands dirty. That's fine. You want to see something that's fucking great? Tweet from Eccles just now. Pretty fucking funny, all things considered. On my way to the main event without having to play any games while everyone else is battling it out in open qualifiers. Sheesh. Fucking sheesh.
Oh my fucking god.
I fucking love it. See, that's why I love Eccles. That's why I love Eccles.
There's no close qualifiers, right? It's like open qualifiers and then challenges. So these motherfuckers got put straight into challenges. And they still have 3 out of 5 players. So this is above board. I mean, this is very standard. I just think we're not going to get to see 100 Thieves really show this new look until we get into challenges proper. So they get automatically qualified into challenges, which is like a league system, right? Like a week by week.
I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. Is that how it works? Yeah, maybe sure. Actually. Yeah, I think that's how it works.
And okay. That's pretty sick. If you get auto qualified into something that's not just like a tournament that you can just get knocked out of, to my understanding. So
that'd be my question. Is what's the safety net?
Here,
7 weeks, so 2 matches a week. It's like a mini league structure,
Oh.
So I'll clarify here because I actually and if we need to cut at the same time with Daniel, I'm going to post it in our chat. But the paragraph here that I'm reading right now from the NSG site is the top 4 teams from Open Qualifier number 1 and the top 4 teams from Open Qualifier number 2 will advance to Stage 1 Challengers Main event alongside Sentinels, NV100 Thieves, and Cloud9. So you're right. They're in this 5-week league right now for Sentinels, NV100 Thieves, and Cloud9.
Right, so they've shortened.
So it's going to be a 12-team kind of thing with only 4 teams.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just think it's so crazy how this is so last minute. We're really living on the edge here. And for some of these guys, it's their livelihood. Not everybody, but look, we were calling for something like this. There had to be a drastic change, and it was pretty last minute. So we'll let you all ruminate on that a little bit while we head to a break. We come back. We've got much to talk about. I want to talk about the crazy story coming out of the Philly land for NSG, and then we'll talk about the Airy. Stick around, everybody. More Valoranting coming right at you. Welcome back, everybody, to Valoranting. We've discussed, obviously, what's happening in Europe in their open qualifiers. We also, before the break, talked about a bunch of the roster moves going down. So sorry, Jovi, you missed out on that one. Let's move on here and talk about, I would say this is an interesting story that came out of sort of the tier 2 scene this week, where basically a player attended LAN, but sort of lied to his teammates about having a COVID test. This is Ethos. He's not obscure. I think he's relatively well known.
Yes.
This all comes out by him saying, hey, if you weren't to this LAN, please get a COVID test. One of our teammates lied about getting a PCR test and has only just admitted it. And he now has tested positive, and some others are. So this has all come back to bite this individual in the ass. The guy's name's Crit, not to be confused with Critical, the guy that was boasting in some girl's Twitch chat about how big was it? Who it was? He was talking about how good he was. He was back when
it's
he was
not KCP Critical. It's not KCP Critical.
KCP now. So this is a screenshot of the conversation. He says he has a PCR test, and then he said he doesn't have a PCR test because he doesn't have the money to spend it on. And then he comes back, says, I'm actually gonna get the test done instead.
Yeah.
He seems like, oh, don't worry about it if because if you can't afford it, then fine. They are expensive. They're not cheap. But if you want to get a PCR, usually most places you can get a PCR test for free. You just won't get the results that quickly. So if you leave enough time, anyway. Side note, they're just like, get the test. And straight up here, the guy's like, I don't have COVID. So he said, I'll know in 20 minutes if I have COVID. I'm getting the test right now. My dad spotted me some money for it. Says he doesn't have COVID. Pretty cut and dry. And then
pause.
And then he has
so you're just confused reading through this.
Bro.
And that's the issue. That's the issue, because Ethos was also mentioning it later on in a tweet. He's like, the story has been going back and forth and changed so many times within that week, right? I also, okay, so here's the thing. I want to make it clear as well. When so Crit on his own Twitter was like, I deserve all the hate, blah blah blah, and I replied to him. I was like, look, fucking the way that I said it sounded like it was all good.
I thought your reply was shite.
Yeah,
I thought your reply was fucking
that's
shite.
it. So it's like he deserves whatever punishment is going to be, right? Whether it's like
fucking. You asked everyone to go soft on the cunt. What the fuck
because
is going soft on him? Teach him.
Because there's gonna be just like these things that have come out that he's gonna get DMs of like fucking death threats and shit like that, and that's what I didn't want. Sure, but
tell people do not death threat. Don't turn around and say he made a mistake.
Listen,
and, like,
140 characters. I can fucking get my point out.
Bro. It takes like 20 characters to go. Don't send death threats. You're fucked up, cunt.
He fucked up. Just don't fucking crucify the guy.
Your tweet was such a
I know, it's fucking me. What can I do?
No,
you were so nice. You were so nice. Your tweet was too nice.
Yeah, you're right.
Wants
you're
to
right.
know what I fucking said. I said you went to an event full of people doing the right thing, thinking you were fucking bulletproof, thinking you didn't need a PCR after being in direct and close contact to multiple positives. Your logic was fucking trash. Whether you learn or not is yet to be seen. Live with that. And I should have said bitch at the end, but speaking of characters, there's not enough fucking characters.
At least you're showing some strength of character, though. Vansilli is so. First of all, Vansilli has problem when it comes to the point where we have to ascribe blame to someone. This is where he fucking freezes up and has like a mini seizure. Like, someone has to take accountability for this. No, maybe I can take responsibility. Maybe I can be the one to take the blame. We did the fucking Artur Minikov conversation, Jess, and he's out there shilling for the guys, so it's fine.
No. I almost commented on your comment, Vans.
I know, which is good. Because I always try to find a positive out of it. But okay, so let's get into this context.
No, we fucking.
many
Hold on. No,
positives.
we're gonna look at your tweet first, motherfucker, because you literally said it was a selfish thing to do, but you admitted to and learned from it. Respect, love heart.
You learn from it. This dude's like looking into the fucking future like a prophet, being like,
maybe respect wasn't the right word, but I'm just like, good on you. Maybe good on you to know that you fucking fucked up. But
of course he has to apologize, Vans. What else is he gonna fucking do?
You could have. This cunt could literally have killed people. You don't understand.
Yes,
I do. I
don't
do.
care
I do.
if
I
people
do.
could die as a result. And
It could have been people. It could have been people that I know as well, and it could have been people that would have been exposed, like family or some shit. Eventually, yes, I agree.
I'm just saying there were immunocompromised people at this LAN.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they were vaccinated, presumably, or whatever. But it's not like we're going to tell immunocompromised people they have to fucking stay inside and never leave their houses because of selfish cunts like this crit guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker was around multiple positive people, multiple close contacts of his family members, and he thought he was bulletproof. He went out to a LAN full of people. I read through the comments. I went fucking nasty scrolling, like I'm back in the criminology.
No, take that out. Take that out. Take that out. Fuck you, Daniel.
This is great. Look at the fucking love heart, by the way. Look at the fucking love heart.
Look, I felt bad for the kid, man. Like, I just didn't want people to fucking like tell him to fucking like off himself with all that shit, man. It's not the right thing to do.
Fucking simpering fuck.
There is. There is a middle ground. You can't just get.
I'm just trying to pull out like some sort of like, okay, like you fucked up real bad, but like don't let all the bad shit get to you in terms of like people that are just gonna fucking.
You can say
some bad shit, say
respect,
some nasty shit.
That implies that you respect someone.
I respect you for putting everyone at fucking...
Okay, maybe wrong choice of words. Maybe wrong choice of words, right?
Let's stop crucifying Vans for this. Respect, love, heart, Vans.
I respect you. You've learned from this, Vans. I can tell you've learned from it.
Maybe I need to take some classes to learn the right choices of words to like get my fucking thoughts out. But, you know, it is what it is.
That's fine. I mean, listen, we are trying to help you. I try to help you and help you at the same time. I try and sort of walk that divide, but, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, not great.
So this is where it's fucked up.
Okay.
So basically, crit, right? Yep. It was known within the community and it was known within the team in itself that crit was exposed to people around his family that actually did have COVID, right? So
multiple, yes.
And he understood that there's a difference between a PCR test and rapid antigen test. And the conversation in DMs between him and Ethos was saying, I'll get the PCR test. Blah, 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 and make sure that everything's okay. He even fabricated a story that he went to the hospital with his father to get the PCR test and his dad paid for it. Yeah. And then in the end, when all that didn't work out, then he said later on, hey, I'm just going to tell you, Ethos, because, you know, blah, blah, blah. I took some homemade fucking test kits, which is probably going to be like one of those take-at-home test kits and not like fucking fabricated like it's fucking Breaking Bad.
You can't take if you've had a coffee, an orange juice, and 48 other liquids in the past 15 minutes, because then it shows that you're positive or negative if you are already positive. So, yeah, we're talking about those ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he said that he took 2 of those, and then they were both negative. Now, in the end, he lied about all of that shit. So that's where it was like, after Ethos tweeted out that second day, I was like, fuck, man, I wanted to give Crit benefit of the doubt, but this is not a person that has taken responsibility for lying to everybody when he's still lying through his teeth, replying into DMs to Ethos. So I didn't feel like I needed to reply on all that shit later on. It's like, oh, fuck it. I don't want to bring that drama.
All of our points are moot. Like, everything we commented on there, and regardless of what we say now, it's all moot. Because anyone in the US who is a close contact needs to isolate for 5 days. This is in the US. The CDC says you must isolate for 5 days and then test out after those 5 days if you have been in close contact. Now, it doesn't, imprint that in law, not in statute, not in criminologically, enforceable terms. You can't, be fined or anything like that. But what the CDC does make clear is that you should wait 5 days. You should test out whatever, right? There's a bunch of people traveling and then getting fucking COVID the moment they land because they're a close contact, but they tested negative because there's something called a fucking incubation period. I'm sick of these cunts thinking that they're bulletproof when they're a close contact to someone. And then they take a test the very next day when the incubation period could not have kicked in. So, of course, you're still going to be negative. And they don't wait 3, 4, 5 days to get a test. and then, oh wow, suddenly I'm
Yeah.
positive 2
You need
days later.
5 days of negative.
Yes,
or
you do.
Test negative 5 days after. You don't have to fucking test. I know the tests are expensive, right? So you don't have to fucking test yourself every day. But from
Correct.
the first time you get a negative test, you fucking wait 5 days and you test again. This guy,
So simple.
we don't even fucking know if the cunt did a test in the first place, mate.
You're right. You're right.
Because he lied about getting a PCR test, and then you saw the tweet, right? He softens it to using an at-home test, and rapid tests obviously have a decent sort of like false negative rate. They're not purely accurate. They're only approved under an emergency use authorization by the FDA, right? They're not like okay, like all the at-home ones you can get. Anyway, some people, maybe rightly so, put some responsibility on NSG here. Now, obviously, they made the requirements pretty clear. So if someone sees like an event, it's like you had to be vaxxed or whatever, you have to wear a mask. Technically, you can have COVID and still those could all be true. So, here you go. So at Nong Athena says on Twitter, we should hold them accountable for their lack of responsibility and ensuring everyone's safety. So I think that, the event, it was pretty ambitious to run the event, right? But this is a Snapchat conversation and discussing the situation with Nerd Street Gaming. I don't know who these people are, but it's a group, I guess. People are going to Philly land. So NSG weren't checking. They weren't testing people, right? So their website, and it says here, it's on their website for whatever. These guys are like happy, by the way, that they're not going to get tested going, which just seems kind of seedy to me in the first place. But we have a screenshot. Can we screen to what this is what Nursery Gamers site says. So all attendees must wear masks, when eating or drinking. It's for everybody. They must show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to gain access to the eating area at the venue. You don't need proof of vax or a negative COVID test to get into the venue in general. So Nerd Street, from what I see, they said they weren't going to be testing people. I don't know what the legislation is in Pennsylvania, right? But if I read this, I just wouldn't fucking go. Are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, if I read that, I would go. Yeah.
These cunts don't need to be vaxxed or to have a negative test to fucking compete in this land. I just wouldn't go. And I wouldn't be mad at Nerd Street because at least they made their policy public, and I can make an informed decision based on that.
Which you did,
someone's
right?
saying maybe they should have cancelled their event. I'm like, maybe they should have. But they also made their stance clear on, and they allowed people to make their own fucking decisions. So how much responsibility can you really put on Nerd Street? John Fazio, by the way, CEO of Nerd Street Gamers, responds to this. Like he sort of makes a response to, I think, this tweet. I'm sure we have it somewhere, where he's basically acknowledges what happened. But, I don't really see where Nerd Street is supposed to be at fault here. So making everyone aware that there is someone with COVID, right, that they should all sort of isolate and get tested. They were following local government guidances. I think that their restrictions were they could have imposed some of their own more stringent ones, like maybe asking for proof of vaccination at the very least. You still can get COVID, of course, especially with Omicron, even if you're vaxxed. But I don't think Nerd Street did enough. But again, they made it pretty clear what they were and were not doing, right? I don't know what your thoughts are here.
Yeah, he replied to Athena with that, and I think when you look at, I think we had the clip or the clip out of the website that said you need to show proof of vaccination at places where you're eating. So, I'm assuming following local ruling is that you have to make sure that you have masks on at all times.
You could eat at your fucking desk, Vans. There's nothing in those things that prevent you from doing that.
Sorry?
You could eat at your desk.
Oh yeah, definitely. But there's probably within NSG is like you're probably not going to eat at the PCs because they're like owned by NSG. So like you don't want to spill water and shit.
You overestimate
like,
gamer hygiene, but sure.
Yeah, but there's probably a policy within NSGs like if you attend the LAN and you want to eat in the fucking actual area, right? Because if you're looking at the photos of NSG or you're watching the stream overall on that weekend, every single one of those players were actually wearing masks at that location, right? So when it's at the venue, when you're playing, when you're competing, when you're engaging with people that's outside of the eating area, masks on at all times, which is why they were wearing masks. But if you want to go to a place where you're eating, potentially where you're going to take off your mask to eat, then you have to show proof of vaccination or that you tested negative. So that, I'm assuming, is what NSG followed in terms of guidelines that was probably given by Philadelphia or the state of Philadelphia or the region in itself.
It didn't matter anyway. Like that's the thing is like what we're arguing now about NSG is a moot point again because they've already put on their website, this is what we're following. Like you don't have to be fucking vaxxed, you don't have to be, you know, test negative. So to begin with, the whole thing was set up this way. Like that was going to be an outcome no matter what, right? But the betrayal of his teammate after being, that's where the storyline actually comes in. And I saw like 48 different comments of like people saying, yeah, I did this with him, or he was visibly sick whilst there. Right?
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, he's asymptomatic. And I'm seeing comments of people saying, like, oh, he was visibly sick.
Coughing up blood.
And I'm like, okay, this motherfucker is obviously visibly sick. Like he obviously knows that he has symptoms. So that's a problem in of itself. And there's people like, yeah, he asked to borrow my fucking headset. I shared a headset with him. I got COVID now. Like, what the fuck? Don't you feel so
somebody picked him up
guilty?
too. Somebody picked him up from the train station, and like the whole team was getting sick. I get it. Like
the problem's not NSGs. No matter how you spin this, it's not NSGs.
Yeah.
No matter how you spin it.
We could say that it would be nice for them to have imposed slightly more stringent regulations, and who knows how much they enforce the eating area restrictions, right? We don't know that. Or who the fuck cares? Really, like, it's just too, like, this kid is just shit cunt. Sorry. I hope he fucking grows up, but I hope I don't have to hear or see from him ever again. Right. Let's move on. Let's talk about,
stop saying that shit, Scott. Fuck you.
I mean, you're talking to Scott. Yeah, like again, you know, I'm just saying, I wouldn't be upset if he left the Val seat. He might still be around. It's not my concern. I'm just annoyed. I don't want to see this in my purview anymore. It's just disappointing to see. Guy, Cian says apparently there was COVID in the guy's household. We sort of mentioned it. He'd been a close contact. So
yeah, exactly.
Look, not a fan of him, but I'm not preying on his downfall. Well, I hope he fucking grows up and learns a lesson.
Exactly.
You know, he is, and if you're 20, by the way, you are old enough to bear the brunt of this, and you should be taking accountability. Like, kids seem to be getting younger and younger these days, like 20-year-olds. I mean, I was a dickhead when I was 20, no doubt about it. Fucking a-hole, but I don't know if I was this bad. Maybe I was. You know what? Maybe I was. Let's talk about the Aries. All right. So obviously, since the latest patch, Riot have been trying to bring this LMG into a place of greater prominence here in Valorant, and I think that I don't know what the two of you think. That conceptually, I find is really interesting. I think maybe it comes from a place of the Valorant devs wanting any gun that's underused to get more use, and there's a dream where all guns are used equally. Personally, from a game design philosophy, not a game designer, by the way, but just I'm going to masquerade as one here. I think it's okay for there to be less used and more niche weapons. But they remove the spin-up time, which, by the way, in an LMG is always the case. And the firing rate has been increased by 30%. When you guys saw this, what were your thoughts? Did you expect it to get where it was? Like, what was your initial reaction to seeing these Aries changes? Could you sense any of this coming?
No, it was such a minor thing too. Like, out of all of the list, I was like, oh yeah, that was it. That was me going, okay.
Glossed over? We glossed over it on the show when those patch notes came out. Vans, did you see something come? You're a bit of a puffer,
I thought of an Aries meta.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely thought about an Aries meta if it was going to be that those changes for the Aries, because now that it shoots out instantly and that it's only 1550 in terms of credits, right? Versus a Spectre who's 1600. And we always meme about the Spectre run and gun. There's still a possibility now that the Aries being cheaper and plus armor pen, that going into these rounds, now that you're seeing that after a pulse plant in round number 2 on attack, you see teams potentially forcing up in Stingers and Spectres that they're going to force up in Aries right now. And that you might have some matches where second round after pistol, you're going to have like fucking 10 Aries in the fucking server. And we've seen that in NSG yesterday. We've seen some mixes of 8 Aries in a server in round number 2, and also, of course, some 8 Spectres as well. So you have versatility in terms of what you could use between the Spectre and the Aries. The thing is, for me, with the Aries is a little bit too cheap for what it's able to do, because you could still sort of run and gun, as we'll see in an example soon. But just the fact that it doesn't wind up to get shots, and you could wallbang so many different things versus a Spectre that you can't, it does bring a lot of value for the cost.
The pen is the problem for me.
Yes.
Like, I don't mind if it doesn't have a wind up, right? Like, if I can just mouse one that shit and I can go, that's okay. The bullet amount is a little troublesome, but the pen on top of that is where I have severe issues with it. Because you can have an LMG, and okay, I come from Siege, where LMG meta is the thing at the moment. And it is being quite destructive. So having more bullets has been super crippling for a lot of the servers and everything like that. And so I'm seeing the same thing now happen in Valorant. You know, two of the games I love dearly, and I'm like, I know where this is going because I'm already living it in another game as well. So for me, I already see this being a huge problem. Cost aside, just cost aside, if I can instantly nail someone with a gun that has infinite bullets and I can miss the first 25 of them and still get away with things, I mean, no.
It feels like
Not
it's
okay.
how quickly you can actually just like swing out and fuck people up with this thing, though. You know, obviously time to kill, it really depends on what kind of accuracy you get served up. This King bloke, I think we dealt with King with the whole FaZe Academy scenario. I think he was involved. Anyway, welcome back on the show in some form. Reckons that the areas isn't as broken as everyone's making it out to be, and that it's being forced where it's unnecessary, which is pretty common, right? There's always an overreaction when a weapon seems strong. Like a lot of people are going to go for it. Rifles versus the Ares, right? I think in a straight gunfight, right, you still fancy the low time to kill of like a Vandal, right? Even you can probably even get away with a Phantom here. Would you say like in a straight gunfight event, you still rather have a proper rifle and it's more of the spamming, the pre-round,
for sure.
So the lineup bullshit?
Yeah, a rifle is still definitely stronger, but I'm still thinking about the example of when I was watching T1 versus BBG yesterday, was that on Haven, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was pistol round. Sorry, I'm looking at the ground because I'm trying to remember. So pistol round, I think T1 lost. Then you went into the second round where there was 8 Ares in a round that T1 ended up winning. So you force Ares into the second round and you're able to win, which now forces your opponents to go on an eco on the next round while you still have Ares in your round. So then you're owning these guys with Ares on the third round against an anti-eco. And on the fourth round, you're now bonus round as you forced up in 1. You're still playing Ares and Spectres against rifles where, yes, rifles are still better, but it's still good and matches up quite well to the rifle if you're actually playing off-angle, spam positioning or whatnot, because you don't need to wind up with Ares. I think it's still pretty strong for its cost. I agree of where Mimi actually mentioned it out. It's like, it's not super overtuned, but it's still a little bit too cheap in terms of what the Ares potentially brings into.
Look at that.
That's what I'm saying. Potentially to what Ares brings into the game. So if maybe you higher the costs of the Ares now, after looking at these few rounds and how the meta is moving into the second round, then potentially you might have the Ares at a good spot.
He still had 26 bullets after that.
Yeah. It's the run and gun bullets plus the fucking pen.
Yes.
It just seems so nasty. That Sage is like fucking fooning out of the way and still getting shit on through. Man. And, but we don't know. Maybe the Sage turns around and actually like swings with. It depends. I don't know what the economy situation was there, but I think it's pretty funny. Also, I love the fact that T-Dog has like a counter. There's like rounds lost to fucking Neon teammates, which is great. So I'm sure he's really loving his time in Elo hell here. Also, he notes down the bottom right, he lists the amount of losses that he has to what he deems as team div. So this, I mean, this is, I see. This is like the bonus round. So yeah, I think that he looks like he won the pistol and then he bought up an Ares. So okay, he's not exactly fucking pushing into rifles now, is he? You know?
No. So we don't really know. Right?
Bonus. It's
maybe we try to look at more data and see how it goes. But like for example, tournaments that currently already happened with the current patch, I don't know if the current VCTs in EMEA or in Europe rather are playing patch 4.0 this week. But at least when you're looking at the NSG, there's still a mix between people being comfortable of going with Ares on the second round or people still comfortable of just playing Spectres as well, because you technically can't run and gun as well with the Spectre now, but you still can. So in terms of mobility, you still kind of like, if you're going tit for tat between the Ares and the Spectre, you might still want to choose the Spectre depending on your situation.
All right. Wow. On the developer side as well, Riot created a bit of a tribute for Acend, obviously after winning champions, becoming the best team in the world. And the billboards, obviously, which we've seen Riot, use liberally in the past to sort of advertise upcoming events and stuff like that. Acend, they have all of their names inside the game. I assume they probably have done this on Ascent as well, but this is obviously from Bayern. But it's kind of cool, and obviously they're appreciating being immortalized in the game for not quite sure how long, but still. It's a nice,
like a temporary tattoo.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, man.
Actually, turns out those tattoos, by the way, a little less temporary these days. They kind of stick. Ashley wanted to test what a tattoo on her forearm would look like. So she got some fucking sparkly unicorn shit and she couldn't get it off. And so she's fucking walking around with a sparkly unicorn on her bloody forearm. Oh, I just fucking embrace it, mate. So
I think it's awesome.
Not so temporary, but there you have it. So that's all. A lot in the show today. What we done 2 hours. Good job, everyone. A lot to cover. Jess, mate, great to have you on the show. Thanks for taking Vans to task. By the way, you've definitely earned my respect for that.
About that comment for so long. I've respected Vans so much, and then I saw that comment, and I've never wanted to get on a plane, come over and visit you, and absolutely just go nuclear on you ever before like that. So
hopefully there'll be a better excuse next time, Jess.
I'm even still molding about it. Like, I even want you to delete the comment. I hate it that much.
I was almost thinking about deleting it too, but at the same time I was like, fuck, I already put it out there, so let's just fucking leave it.
There now. That's fine. We keep each other accountable, hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course, that's what we're here for. That's why we're friends.
What's coming up for you, mate? Are you back in the gym yet or what?
Bro, I was actually going to say I'm probably going to be back at the gym today. I'm feeling a lot better compared to like the last 2 weeks, so we're getting back into the squats.
You had COVID, didn't you? You just don't want to tell us.
I don't know. But the thing is I stayed isolated for
No wonder you respect that other motherfucker.
So here's the fucking thing. So the thing is with the Canadian government, at least in Quebec, is like we can't really, they say like you have to use a test for extreme cases. But if you're in a position to be able to isolate yourself, if you have mild symptoms or whatever being COVID, just fucking isolate yourself. I fucking isolated myself for fucking 14 days. I didn't go out at all. So
well, we just found out in the United States that we can all order 4 at-home tests for free to our household. So that's been quite nice.
I saw that too.
If you're in the United States, make sure you do that through USPS. You can order yourself some at-home tests for free. Doesn't cost you a damn thing. Shipping's all covered on that. So try and get on those. Even obviously there is some sort of false positive, false negatives from those. You can at least give yourself an idea if you need to get a PCR. Good chat. Fuck. My buddy hurt my hand.
If you're in Europe, just go to your local pharmacy and just fucking crack on, mate. Get all the fucking tests you need because Europe is the best region in the fucking world. Let's
fucking utopia, bro. Yeah, God, fucking hell. The good old days where I had fucking health insurance in Germany. The dream. Anyway, those of you who live in the fucking slums of US, get a fucking test. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being with us, Jess. Vansilli, you're a shit cunt. See you guys next week. More Valoranting.